All right, hello, hello. I have with me Evan Hayden. Is that how I pronounce your last name?
Yep, that's it.
Nice. The letterer for Land of the Lustrous or Houseki no Kuni, as well as a lot of other things. Could you introduce yourself to the people that are that's going to end up watching this?
Well, I've been technically lettering since 2008. I say technically because the first few years I was doing 1 or 2 volumes a year.
Hmm.
Lettering a lot since 2013. So I guess about 10 years now, full time more or less. Done about 200 something books, 220 maybe. I have a list. I can't
Yeah.
remember right now. So about that many different tankobon volumes by now. Mostly for Kodansha, a lot for Vertical, which is now Kodansha, I
Hmm.
guess. I don't know. Um, a lot for Last Gasp as well. In fact, Last Gasp was where I first started doing comics for manga for, and still do stuff for them. We've also done some stuff for J Novel Club, some stuff for Saturday AM. One project for digital manga back in the day, one project for Stonebridge Press back in the day. So just a variety of stuff,
Nice.
mostly Kodansha stuff. Yeah. Do you want me to? Should I mention any of my favorite titles, for example?
Yes, please go ahead.
Obviously, Land of the Lustrous is incredibly fun to work on. I hadn't heard of the manga before I started it, and I
Mm.
was very, very, pleasantly surprised once I got it assigned and like looked through it. Because well, I can get into that in more detail later, but that's
Yeah.
definitely right near the top of the heap there. I got to work on the Akira 35th anniversary
Is
box
that
set. That was
beautiful
fun.
box set?
Oh yeah, thank you. That was. I can't take credit for the
Hmm.
design of it much, other than some of the stuff in the back, but it was very fun. What else? All the various Battle Angel Alita books I work on. That's incredibly special to me because that's the manga that got me into manga way back. Way back in the day. I'm old now, so it was 93 when I was like 13 years old that I first read Alita. Um, so yeah, those are some of the best ones. Also, Die Vergelter. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know how
Is
to
that the
pronounce it.
one by the
Samura.
author of Samura, Blade of the
Yeah,
Immortal? Nice.
Blade of the Immortal. I love that book so much. It's definitely not for everybody. It's like
Hmm.
a kind of like a Tarantino movie in manga
Mm.
form. It's very very hard edged, but the art is beautiful. So that's great to work on. And there's like a lot of other cool stuff I've got to work on too. So I can get into
Yeah,
that later if you
some
want.
of the ones that I've read that I've seen that like on your website for your resume, some of the
Yeah,
stuff is like Blood on the Tracks by
ooh, I
Oshimi,
love on that too. Yeah.
and then Magus of the Library, which has some beautiful artwork.
Yeah, I worked on the first 2 volumes of that. Then I
Hmm.
had to bow out because my schedule was just overloaded at the time.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, that was a pretty cool book to work on. And yes, incredibly intense retouching work
yeah.
in related to that
I could
beautiful art.
imagine that it takes a lot more effort just to make sure that it's in line with everything
Yeah,
because of how
each
much.
of those volumes took a long time.
Yeah.
Close to about 100 hours each, which is
Oh
pretty
my
long.
goodness.
Yeah.
What how long does it normally take for you to do the retouching or lettering for a volume?
So it's kind of all over the map because
Mhm.
like a book like Land of the Lustrous usually goes by really quick.
Yeah.
I've done one of those as quickly as like 17 hours, but
Mhm.
the average for those is about 25, 30 hours each.
Got
But
it.
my average book across the board is about 50,
Okay.
usually 50 to 60 hours.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you get incredibly difficult books like the series Real Account, where every volume of that would take me a minimum of 70 hours and
Wow.
sometimes just over 100 hours each. And I did 24 volumes of that
Oh
all
my
at
goodness.
once.
Is
There are
that
three
still
volumes where
ongoing
I did.
or
Oh, that's no, it finished recently.
okay.
I almost said thank God. I shouldn't say the project that like, you know, but it was a lot of work. So
Mhm.
thank God as far as I can relax a little bit. So and it's all out there for people to see now. So
Nice.
I did the full lettering on the whole thing except for volume 9 through 11. They had somebody else do most of the lettering, and then I did the stuff like the phone app screens and like all the
Mhm.
other stuff just to keep consistency.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
but yeah, that and Reincarnated as a slime are my two longest going titles. Slime I just finished. I'm losing track. I either finished volume 23 or 24 recently. Can't
Got
remember one of the two, but that keeps going. And I also just recently started putting the omnibus collections together for that. So
Okay, first line. I
yeah,
heard
that will be
no,
coming up
maybe
next
it's a
year.
do you have do you work on, like, box sets or anything like that, or is that, like, a different like, a task for someone else then?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I worked on the Akira one.
Mhm,
And, the way that worked basically is I did full lettering on 3 of the volumes, and then I did partial lettering on the other 3,
mhm,
and then I did some various design work on the inside of the volumes, all 6. But
yeah,
um, the Alita stuff I've done, some of the stuff I've done for that was in a box set. Like
mhm,
when I worked on Alita, Holy Night, and other stories, which is kind of like the Gaiden, the side story collection.
yeah,
That was, I think that was initially just for the box set, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about the sales side of stuff. So that could have been initially for sales separately too.
mhm,
So, but that was made in basically within the timing for the box set to come out.
got it.
But anything else I work on that's in box set that kind of winds up like that way later, and I don't really know anything about it.
Mhm.
So,
'Cause,
and
like,
as
you
far as
work on the volume, and then it eventually gets compiled into a box set probably a year or more afterwards, yeah.
yeah, and then somebody else handles like the packaging design for that. Like
Mhm,
I don't really, for my Kodansha stuff, like they don't usually have their letterers do like the cover or design or anything like that.
got it.
For other publishers, I do cover design stuff like Last
Mhm,
Gasp in particular.
yeah,
So yeah, as far as marketing stuff or like later collections, like I don't usually know too much about what's going on with that unless they ask me to work on it. So
mhm,
and yeah, I've done various titles as like omnibus versions, some where I've like dealt with other people, worked with other people's like lettering,
yeah,
and kind of had to tweak it to make it like fit a new size format. For example, like in the case of Attack on Titan, or in the case of Slime, and also Junji Ito's Cat Diary. Like I
mhm,
do something that I worked on myself, and then have to redo it kind of for like a new version. In the case of um, Ito's book, I basically first did the softcover version, and later there's a hardcover, which had some bonus material in it and was a different size format.
mm.
Tweaked a few things here or there. So
So, for those that don't know, you tend to do, like, a mix of, like, physical and digital, like, work for your lettering. So, for example, let's say, like, Attack on Titan, where you did the production for going to a bigger size for the omnibus. Is
mhm,
was that for the omnibus or for the colossal edition, or are they the
that's
same?
the omnibus.
Okay.
And the way that kind of project worked is like you don't you don't really see any of me in the lettering on that,
Mhm.
because like that was already lettered
Yeah.
fully and everything. And the most I did with lettering was like there were some places where it had to be tweaked in order to fit like a new like um, I'm blanking on the phrase, the edge of the page, like the bleed and whatever, just to
Mhm.
make sure that things don't get chopped off the edge. Or some things that if the bleed and stuff like that changes, you got to move in some stuff
Yeah.
closer to the center of the page,
Mhm.
or just like if there's like somehow a typo that got through the first time around, fix it
Yeah.
later on, basically. So that was mostly just me taking pages that were made for a smaller smaller format, and then it would be a slightly bigger format for the
Mhm.
omnibus. So scaling them all up, it's basically copy everything from one InDesign document over to the another copy.
Yeah.
Did that initially until I learned how to automatically transfer them over. I still You still have to go through and like tweak them,
Mhm.
resize them and stuff, but also combining 3 and 1 volumes, and stuff like that, adding things that are specific just to the omnibus collection, like the new book title page and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and making sure all the little t's are crossed and whatever the phrase is, like
Eyes
p's
are
are,
dotted.
yeah, either dotted, yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
as far as like translation notes, like make sure the new page numbers are reflected in that, or like
Mhm.
in the table of contents. So that was something I used to mess up on early on when I was doing archives, where I'd keep forgetting to change the page numbers.
Oh, so it would be like it should be like 150, but it's actually like 80 or something
Yeah,
before it got turned in.
that was a headache for the editor, basically. But now it's that kind of work now is like kind of robotic for me now. So
Mhm.
I don't make too many mistakes anymore on that kind of stuff.
And, like, even going from, like, the Japanese tantabans to, like, the regular, like, English volumes, there is a increase in size, right? For how, like, the English volumes.
For some of them,
Mhm.
yeah. If you don't mind me stepping off
No,
camera
go
to
ahead.
grab a couple books here. All right, this is going to be a kind of a random comparison here
It's okay.
between 2 totally unrelated books. Um, So I got like a Japanese Blood on the Tracks. This is the
Mhm.
volume I just finished like 3 days ago. And that's already that kind of slightly bigger size.
Mm.
I'm There's like a size that's slightly smaller than this that you see like a lot of the, I don't know how much they still do it because I haven't seen it as much lately, but it was more popular in the 90s. Like a lot of mangas kind of moved up to this size. But then
Okay.
here's an American one, for example, that I worked on, which you can already tell is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Blood on the Tracks,
It's
uh,
about the same, I think.
about the same,
Yeah.
and Land of the Lustrous is the same as this,
Mhm.
wise. But I've also done like titles like Real Account, for example. They were a little smaller,
Yeah.
so it's kind of there's like two main sizes. I can mostly speak for the stuff I've done with Kodansha, and there's like
Mhm.
two main sizes that they stick to. There's that like teeny tiny size and the slightly less teeny tiny size.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's code names for what those sizes are, and I can't remember them right
Like
now.
A4, A5.
Something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
don't know either.
Yeah.
Um, that makes sense.
Mhm.
For those that don't know what a letterer does, I recently talked with the translators for Land of the Lustrous, and they were like they are usually the first step when it comes to localization of translating the Japanese to English,
Mhm.
and then it moves on to, I'm assuming, the letterer next. Is that correct, or is there someone? Is there?
To the first
Mhm.
edit, like it should. If it doesn't, then something's not going quite right.
Yeah.
Generally, I can tell you the process as far as I know it. And this mostly applies to the way Kodansha does it. Like it, well, but then again, the way they do it is pretty much not terribly different from the way I've done it otherwise.
Mhm.
Like the translators will get it first, and they'll make a script, and I don't know much in detail about how they work, but you probably got a really good interview on that already.
Yeah.
Um, then an editor will check through that. I I'm not totally clear if the proofreader checks in at that point or if the proofreader
Mhm.
checks in later. I think the proofreader checks at that point too.
Yeah.
And then they'll send me after they assign me the book, they'll send me the script, and then the company, like depending on whatever their service they use, they'll like send me a link to some place to download art files for the book.
Mhm.
So in the case of like the average book, and this is how Land Lustrous goes, like I'll have like a big folder full of TIFF files, like very, very large
Yeah.
DPI, like 1200 DPI. Some
Mhm.
Blood on the Tracks is like 2400 DPI, which is like
Wow.
giant files. That's why it looks so beautiful in print.
Mhm.
But yeah, the bigger the better. That makes it look nicer in print, obviously.
Yeah.
So I get a whole bunch of those TIFF files for the art pages, for the actual pages, and then there's like various kinds of files, mostly Illustrator files, in related to other like table of contents or like bonus materials.
Mhm.
Um, I even get like the cover sleeve, like
Like the
photos.
inside of it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Even though I don't do the cover stuff, I've had times where I've used parts of the stuff for like translation notes section. So it's
Yeah.
very to get as much as I can get.
Mhm.
Um, so
Your
anyway, I can,
your picks for the translation notes, when I was talking to the translator, they're like, "Yeah, we don't pick the pictures that go there. That's all the letter." I was like, "Some of your picks are, like, just spot
uh,
on, especially
thank
since
you.
we get to that fine." Because the translation notes is generally, like, the last couple pages before you
Yep,
close the volume, so it leaves you on that full impact. So, like, some of
I
the choices that you
appreciate
make
it.
are perfect. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to go for a cinematic kind of, cinematic feel. Like that sounds maybe weird in reference to manga, but like
Mhm.
trying to go for an image that's a little bit evocative and maybe mysterious a little
Yeah.
bit. I don't want to give away too much in case someone accidentally opens the book from the wrong side in the
Yeah.
bookstore, and
Mhm.
like I don't want to give away like, oh, this character got, I don't know, you know,
Their
I don't
head chopped off or what.
know,
Yeah.
Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to go too far into spoilers, although I did
Mhm.
technically use an image of Foss. Is it Foss or Fos? I've never actually said it out loud.
I've been saying Foss this year. Yeah.
Phospholite.
'Cause, like, I'm taking it from, like, phosphate, like, the element, and
Yeah,
it's phosphate, so
I'll call them Foss.
yeah.
So like, yeah, like I did actually have one page where there was like a um. Can I redo one part here
Yeah,
or
go
no?
ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
Accidentally called Foss her. I don't want to do that.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
yeah, Foss is just very cute, so it's hard not to not to say that. So, um, anyway, restart that. Uh, Foss is yeah, I did accidentally put a Foss getting decapitated picture as one of the
Oh yeah,
one
I think it's
of the note section, but it was such
descript
a fucking picture. I had
7.
yeah, yeah.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I that
that's
was
just
so
that's
neat.
so cool. That's like perfect way to end it too. Like,
Cool. Yeah, the translation notes section, I mean, this is gonna sound weird given that this
mhm,
is like 1% of my job, but like
yeah,
that's probably my favorite thing to do on each volume I do. And frankly, it's because it's where I get to like do something original that I'm not
yeah.
basing
You have like full creative control almost for
absolutely.
what's up there. Yeah,
And that's very satisfying. So but anyway, if you want, I can kind of walk you through the process of
of course.
how I do a book, how I
Yeah.
letter it. So I get those files. Very first thing I do, I could I don't know how to share a screen
Oh,
here. I can share it.
let me. There should
Open
be
up the
a
file here and
yeah.
let
If you
me
look in like the bottom part of the StreamYard, there's like a mute stop cam settings. Do you see a present on yours?
um
Like at the very bottom, there's like okay.
yeah, before I do that, I'm just going to grab something here that will hopefully show what I'm talking about without
Yep.
showing anything I'm not supposed to be showing.
And no, of course, I don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. But also like I'm trying to find something that's like in progress so you can see what how this
Got
thing
it.
about to talk about looks in progress.
Mhm. And
Because
for the viewers that end up watching this at some point, Evan, do you
explain
read the magazine or anything, or do you just read the volume when it's given to you, like the script for the volume? How do you like
that's how I
experience the series?
pretty much.
Okay, from the
Yeah,
script that comes.
it's really changed the way I read manga. Like at
Mhm.
least the manga I work on because I a lot of times I'll start these and I don't even read in advance. I'm just basically learning the story as I'm lettering it.
As you're doing it, okay.
Which is really weird when I do certain things out of order.
Uh
So
huh.
like I might get the big climax at the end of the volume.
You're like,
I might
oh,
do
what
that
the
before the
heck?
beginning. Yeah. So
So then,
let me try presenting
sure.
here real quick.
So then similar to what I gave the I guess spoiler warning for those that are going to end up commenting on this or anything, Evan does not read the magazine. So
No.
end of volume 12, which is chapter 98 is how much you have context for. So
Mhm.
if anybody comments anything past 98, I'm going to
Totally.
delete it. I don't want Evan to be spoiled on a series that he's been working so hard for. Right.
Yeah. Certainly not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to keep it special. I
Mm,
mean, I'm a firm believer in like in general in reading the official thing and
yeah.
I mean, I can speak Japanese basically,
Mhm,
but I can't my reading kind of sucks. My kanji sucks in
mhm.
particular, so like I don't bother trying to read the actual magazine. If I was still in Japan though, I'd probably be picking it up.
Pick some up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'll do a quick screen share and see.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah, what I'm about to show you is pretty mundane, but it's basically it is the
Gotcha.
first step of my personal process, and this is not everybody's process necessarily. So for example, here's like a Google Doc I made.
Oh, wow.
This is a very complex one. These are all colorful because I'm done with all this stuff. But
Uh-huh.
basically, all I'm doing is like, you know, things that to do stuff. Let me skip to a book. Well, hold on a minute. Let me, let's go to Slime Omnibus. That's a simpler to look at one.
Mhm.
So basically, I'll make all these. Can you see my cursor or no?
Yeah, 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 I can.
So I make all these like columns, and then here's each page number here. And in the case of like something like an omnibus, I
Mhm.
even have like this is the original page number just to keep me on track because
Mm,
sometimes it can be very confusing. So here I'm like, just transfer the files in, relink them to the new thing. This is sorry if this gets boring or anything.
mm.
Crop them and make them all pretty in InDesign just to make them fit. Putting page numbers on if you need to, and the way this looks normally is this is completely empty white, and I just
Yeah,
fill in and
with
I
the
put
colors as you complete them.
things when I don't need them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then if I needed to make a layered file, I'll do that. And then do I need to tweak sound effects, tweak text, other text, do a last final check? Done.
Mm,
And then later on, after the editor looks at it, I'll put what pages need revisions.
mhm.
So it's like an omnibus. And then I have a much more complex setup here for like this book that I'm working on for Last Gasp. With a speech narrator, hand drawn stuff, other, you know, and then I even put like I'll go through the whole book and just drop in text boxes, and then I do like rough paste from the script, and then I fine tune it. And that might sound like an insanely like might sound like way too many steps involved in what I'm doing here, but it does help keep me on task.
And it's
Uh,
not like, each page needs every single thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'll show you. This is kind of how I'll have like a folder full of, here's Land of Lester's Volume
Mhm.
12. Like they'll send me original stuff, and like there's everything I need is in there. So I'll
Yeah.
just make a copy of those just to keep the originals safe in
Mhm.
case I overwrite something. Um, and then basically I got all the TIFFs right here after I do them, and I got
Wow.
PSD files for everything, and then I have I could
Curious as to, is TIFF
I could
just used because that's the standard or
Well, tip, yeah, that's generally the file I get when That's why you'll see like letterers complaining. Sorry, this is not very exciting, but this I'm just to wait for InDesign to open.
Mhm.
You'll see letterers complaining like myself about like having to retouch a lot of stuff because like we don't get layered files.
Mm.
Generally, very rarely do we get layered files to work with where we can turn off things like turn
Oh,
off
wow.
layers, and that's like a blessing when we do. Um,
And would you
so
use, like, Photoshop or anything with that, or do you not use Photoshop in your process?
well, I technically do, although I'm
Yeah.
a weirdo. I use Corel Photo Paint as my main thing, but it's the same
Okay.
thing.
Okay,
I've
got
used it since I was 17. Because back when
Mhm.
I got my first computer. Sorry, this is not very exciting watching this in design loaded
No,
screen.
it's okay.
Way back in '97 when I got my first scanner, it came with a free copy of Photo Paint, and at that point, Photoshop was just way too much money,
Mm.
and it continuously was way too much money. So I like learned Photo Paint like the back of my hand. So I still use Photoshop like all the time. This is not loading very fast,
Mhm.
um, but I use them both interchangeably. I'm just waiting real quick. I'm gonna open up my InDesign file
Sure.
for Landor says 12, and I got to be careful how I scroll through. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody.
Yeah, oh, so
All these,
the assumption for anyone that, watches this is they've already read volume 12 at least, so you don't need to worry about that.
all right. So like you can see, like there's crop marks and stuff. Like, and I made
Yeah.
myself this blue. Wow, this loads kind of slow when I'm doing the live stream.
Yeah, yeah, most likely, it's okay.
That's fine as long as it doesn't bother you.
No,
I
no,
even
I don't.
made these little lines here just to make sure I like keep everything in place. So
To
like,
give you a context, like, if I were to try to screen share on my MacBook Air 2015, like, it would just freeze. So, like, this is way better than me trying to screen share anything, so don't worry about it.
all right, I don't feel too bad then. Here I got like like the text boxes that I set up for everything here. And
Mhm.
hold on a minute. I want to pull up something here that'll show you. That's weird. Okay. Without going too into detail on like technical stuff, if you don't want to hear it, like
No,
I
you're welcome to go as detailed as possible, like, I'm
okay.
here to learn, like, don't worry about me.
There's something in InDesign where you can set up called paragraph styles.
Mhm,
So, for example, like if you see this menu over here, I've already made a full list of like LL dialogue, Lana Lustrous dialogue.
mhm.
So like right there, they're talking with a very large font, but like you just click here and it's a lot quicker to do it that way
Oh,
than
wow, okay.
um
What font do you use for Land Illustrious?
uh for the main dialogue font,
Mhm,
it is called CC Meanwhile, and
okay,
which is different than the font that I mostly used before it. I mostly used one called Comic Crazy, and I still use that for some manga, but
mhm,
I wanted something more slinky and kind of artsy looking a little bit. I don't know
yeah,
if the point gets across, but it just the other font didn't quite match the line work style to me. So like I
mhm,
wanted something a little bit thinner and prettier looking. Um, and I also like made the characters a little bit more horizontally thin on this book, just
mhm,
because there's so many like places where you have to really cram stuff in.
yeah,
Um, there's like yeah, sorry, this is running a little slow, but there I line by line I'll change like the thickness and stuff of
mhm.
like thickness and thinness in order to like just match the word balloon shape a little bit better.
Yeah, because you were explaining how, like, you get the image files with the speech bubbles, and you don't generally change the speech bubbles ever, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So we're not actually allowed to, at least with
Mhm,
Kodansha.
mhm.
Um, I've had some stuff in the past where I've been able to do that a little bit, but it's not really encouraged. So this is basically how one will look.
Okay,
Like
got it.
nothing on it. There'll be sound effects.
Mhm.
All these files here that I have here, I already have my sound effects baked into
Built in.
them.
Mhm.
Yeah, because then I have like a separate Photoshop file where I can turn those off and move them around if I need to and stuff.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my favorite pages from this volume because I just really like how the ARF turned out. Um, so like I'll go back to it's not too much else to show on this for now, so I'll go back to
Mhm.
look look at me mode. So basically I get the files, I drop them all into InDesign, I move them around, resize them, make sure they're uniform in size. One important thing to watch out for is like around the edges of the page, the bleed.
Mhm.
You have to find this balance between making sure you have to make sure everything goes far enough to the edge and
Yeah.
even beyond, so that way, you know, there's nothing like what am I'm trying to say here? Make sure it goes full bleed is what I'm saying when it
Mhm.
needs to go full bleed.
'Cause I know, like,
Cutting out, not zooming in too much and cutting off too much
yeah, because
because
Ichikawa likes to play with the outside ring, especially when she's
Mhm.
drawing, like, Foss or Cairngorm or whatnot, and, like, their clothing or whatnot is going beyond the page, and you
I
see
love
that
that.
around, so, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. One thing you got to watch out for when you're preparing a book for print is that sometimes you get, I don't know the full details of how like a printing press works, but you'll get
Mhm.
like shake. There's like a specific industry phrase that I forgot. Like sometimes like things will shake around a little bit. That's why sometimes you get like bad Amazon reviews sometimes from people who are like, my book was printed off center. And I'm like,
Oh,
that happens sometimes.
yeah,
Sorry. But like things will like move around in the printing press occasionally, so that's why you need extra space around the edge, like
mm,
that way
like
if
a
it shakes,
gutter, I think
it'll
that's, like,
erase.
the word for it, like a gutter, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I do that first, and the reason I showed you that very colorful spreadsheet is because what I do is I take a couple hours for each book I do, and I just go through page by page and I log like what do I have to do for each page.
Mhm,
I like this page, for example, needs speech and oh, there's a sign in panel 3, and I got to do the sign.
mhm.
Um, and like, but there's no sound effects, for example. So then
Yeah,
I'll just like mark it accordingly, and that just keeps my sort of ADHD type brain on task. So otherwise, I am a giant mess. So I do that first of all, and then I go through and kind of depending on the book, I'll just if I'm in the mood to do the dialogue first, I'll do that, or if I'm in the mood to do the sound effects first, I'll do that.
mhm,
I've kind of fallen into a little bit more of a pattern lately, where I'll just do all the dialogue and just do everything in one pass. That
yeah,
makes it a little hard for me to do like things like chapter by chapter release stuff. I don't do a
mhm,
lot of that kind of work
mhm,
because it works better for me if I can just go through and do the entire one type of work first on a book.
yeah,
So like do all the dialogue until it's done. Okay,
mhm,
good, done. Do all the sound effects till it's done. Done, good. All the miscellaneous things like signage or books or whatever like that. So that's kind of how I do that. Um, Sound effects, the way I do those is really depends on the book. The way I do them on Land of the Lustrous is very different from how I do them on most of my books.
mhm.
I haven't used a single font on any of the sound effects on Land of the Lustrous. They're all hand done.
Wow.
Um, and by hand done, the way I define that is it could either be literally with a marker or whatever on paper or like
Mhm.
ink of some kind, or on the computer, but just with my mouse or with a tablet or with a pen tablet.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just haven't been using a tablet lately, and I used to use those all the time. So like most of like the computer ish hand drawn stuff you see around me is just me using the mouse. Weirdly enough,
Yeah.
um, and then for the case of like Land of the Lustrous, like um, let me let's get something ready here. I'll do like a little live thing here.
Sure.
Uh,
And for those that don't know, on Evan's, like, personal website, he does have a clip of volume 11 where he did a certain panel from, I think, chapter 87. It was
oh, I love
that's
that
on
panel.
Di
That was so fun to do. I could, yeah, I'll open that up in a minute on here and show you. But first, let me share.
we added.
So, for example, let's just say zish, ZSH. That's a sound effect that weirdly I get a whole lot. Like, so I'm just using my mouse here and just drawing in like a little. this is not going to be fine-tuned by any means, but
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
I might like just do even something just like with the mouse and with a basic brush. Um, yeah, I make sound effects sometimes when
While you're doing it.
I just did that without even thinking about it. Like I'm like, it's an air effect. Got to make a little whoosh
And I've
with my
been told
voice.
that actually it was in Anime NYC when I was at the Dark Horse uh like panel. They were talking about how like sound in other languages doesn't translate the same. Like
Oh yeah,
us,
different,
yeah,
very different.
like dogs barking for us is normal as a bark, but like in Japan, like it would
One,
be
one, one,
one.
one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hadn't even like registered that until he brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, that it makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Here, I'll get into what I'm doing here in a second. So like this is very rough, but here's an example of like something I did here, and then I'll like with my actual forgot to put this as a separate layer, so I'm just gonna have to like yada yada yada.
mhm.
And then I'll like clean it up in different ways,
Mm,
or I'll blur it a little bit to smooth it out a little bit. So like that's kind of how I do sound effects of certain types in Land of the Lustrous, just to make everything look pretty.
yeah.
But there's also sound effects like I'll show you an example in a minute. But there's like very very angular ones where I try to match Ichikawa's like angular type look. So
Mhm,
let's say I want to do zish that way. Then I just take the shape tool or whatever it's called, and I'll just
mhm.
like do this, which I still consider that. Oops, it would help if I use a color that's not white here, so you can see it. Um, I still consider that hand done because I'm just doing it with my mouse, so it's
Yeah.
not or anything. Um, I like to do these like lightning bolt type looking letters, which
Nice.
kind of she did in the original manga too. So I try to match that tone.
Mhm,
And obviously, if you had like a like bonk for a sound effect, and I
yeah.
like it like all chunky here, and I don't worry too much about if it lines up properly. I'll put the holes in that B in a second, and the in the O. But the thing I like about doing by hand by now is you can see these are not perfectly uniform, and
Mhm,
that is why I love it because
yeah.
if you do things only in font, things can look very static and, in my opinion, a little bit emotionlessness at times. I mean,
Mhm,
I think there are a lot of letters out there who can take fonts and do complete magic with them and make them look very, you know, hand drawn in theory, basically. But like, yeah, oops, gotta. I actually like that little weird little thing I did here, but just for the sake of how I would do this in a manga, let me show
mhm,
let me put it in. So there, for example, there's that's kind of how I do sound effects in Land of the Lustrous.
yeah.
Let me pull up that page in particular. Um, I actually was, I think that's page 142. Let me. We're just
Right
gonna
on.
randomly open up page one. No, it's not 142. I don't have a PSD file for that. So, all right, 145.
Ah,
I'm gonna open this real quick, and I'll show you. So if anyone watching this wants to see that time lapse, it's on. If you go to my Twitter, which is electro freeze, just spelled exactly like that. Um, Basically, the pinned tweet is a time lapse of regular lettering, like dialogue lettering I did on Galaxium back 5 years ago. But then there's a reply to that, which is a time lapse of me doing this panel, and this panel was completely done by hand with marker. I'm gonna show you. Here's a scanned in. This is the actual page scanned in. This is you can see I drew the Waaaah on the top
yeah.
there, but
Oh,
this
that's
is like
so
a
cool.
zoom in of how it looks basically on the with the marker.
Mhm,
This is my absolute favorite part of my job is doing it old school style, like lettering. So eventually I digitized it. I don't even know if that's the phrase. I feel like an old man saying that. So like there's a layer here called gleam. That's just like the little gleam I drew in over that. Can you see that
mhm,
turn off? And then like white is like the highlight, and then I got black here, and then gray. So like I'd made that shape, and then I copied in the the tone, like the
mhm.
gray tone. Here's what the original looks like. So I
Yeah.
basically what I have to do in this kind of case is I just copy a swatch of this dot tone, and
Mhm,
then just repeat, 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 and like it can be it can be pretty time consuming. But let me just turn this layer back on so you can really see. So there's English version and oops, that's not that. See, even here, like this is just a thing I kept here that you don't see. This is just me keeping a giant chunk of like the tone here,
Of the tone, yeah, yeah.
just in case I need it.
Uh-huh.
And some manga, like a lot of manga nowadays, is done using a program called Clip Studio Paint, and like you can tell a Clip Studio Paint book if you're a letterer, I probably or if you're just really into manga, you can probably even just tell this book was done by Clip Studio Paint, and definitely Land of Lustrous was not.
Mhm.
But books that were done with those kind of programs have a lot of dot tone that really is consistent from book to book. So
Okay.
like things like Real Account, for example, I don't know what exactly program they use for that, but like whatever they use, like I could use the same dot tone on volume to volume, which would
Mm.
saved a little time.
But I'm
Yeah.
assuming for Land of the Lustrous, like, that tone or have like, the tones are completely different per, like, volume
Oh yeah.
or per
Well, there's a lot
chapter
that
even? Or
there's a lot that's the same, but I don't. I mean, I don't actually know how the author makes her pages
Mhm,
exactly. Like, I don't know how much of it's digital and not. I mean, there's. I'm guessing just from the way some of the. Hmm. I don't know because this is really like hard for me to tell. This could be hand cut, like hand done, like actual analog dot tone, or it could be
mhm.
digital. I'm guessing it's digital because most people don't do the hand cut look these days.
Yeah.
She has such like a distinct edge to all these things that it looks like it could, you could have done it by hand if you really had
Mhm.
patience. You know what I mean? Um, so
And I
like a
know,
lot of
like,
these
this yeah.
are pretty
Go ahead.
uniform.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing probably she uses like dot tone on the computer and stuff. It's a little different. Sorry, what were we saying?
I know that, like, when these, like, pages get, like, scanned and when they look, like, on, like, a digital scan, let's say, like, for a digital volume, like, with the release of, like, K-manga where you can read Land of the Lustrous, like, digitally,
Yeah.
sometimes that dot tone, like, kind of doesn't like, it shows, like, the lines almost. Do you know
Oh
what
yeah, yeah.
causes that?
You might be talking about Moire Pattern.
Maybe,
Uh,
yeah.
are you talking about where it makes like a weird kind of stripy pattern, or like
Yeah.
sometimes it'll make like, yeah, that is. Believe it or not, this is how big of a nerd I am. I have an entire book about Moire Pattern. Like it's this fun book I have. I wish I had it on hand right now. I'd show you,
Mhm,
but it's full of like these tones, and basically you have these clear sheets with other tones that you could overlay and move around and watch them make all kinds of fun patterns and stuff. Basically, the way a Moire pattern is, tell you what, let me make one right now. If you be patient with me just
no, of course.
a second. Um, so this is my these are all my Kodansha books here. I use nice
Mhm,
pictures of them for my folder pictures here, just because it makes everything feel a little more festive.
yeah.
All right, let me find a nice dot tone here and open that up in my midgeter. This might be a bad example because this is kind of a big dot tone, but I'm gonna
Mhm,
quickly. Sorry, I'm gonna do some nerdy stuff here for a second. All right, there, made the white, took the white away.
mhm.
So like I right now what I have is two layers of this dot tone, and I'm gonna select that and start twisting it. You see what it's doing here?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Kind of mind blowing.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's called a Moire pattern. I can't pronounce, so I'm attempting to. So that's what you get here when you get like the kind of weird effects that you get when things are shrunken down. Is because I don't know. Some of these dot tones are specifically calibrated for like certain kinds of printing, and then if you show them on a screen and like
Mhm.
shrink it down or like I can't think of the word, like shrink the size
Digitize.
down
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
then
yeah.
it kind of like it'll throw that off and make them look not very good.
Mhm,
Um, the other thing is like I'm getting way into the weeds here of technical details, but I always save these files as black and white 1-bit files or whatever. Because like that's that if you let me find a picture here, page here that has like some sort of gradient effect. all the gradients are done with dot tone. So this is not the best book to show this example of, but if you
Mhm.
zoom in on this, these are all just dots.
Oh,
Um,
okay. And that's
and
just the pattern that yeah.
if I keep this as a black and white file as opposed to a grayscale file,
Mhm.
that keeps everything sharper and
Mm.
that'll print better, a lot better. If you, I've done some books that are all done in grayscale and they print okay, but they don't print quite as crisp as these black and white pages do.
Mhm.
But anyway, so that's a very very long answer to what you were just asking.
No,
So
makes sense.
real quick here, this thing I have open here, there's a scanned in page of just some of the hand drawn stuff I did for volume was that volume 11? Yeah, volume 11. So initially all these asides I would write using my pen tablet, and then like I was like in a hurry and it's a lot quicker for me to do these with pen and scan them in.
Uh-huh.
Um
'Cause
so
this
like
is your handwriting when it's like the not in the speech itself, but like they're
yeah,
making like side comments, like that's in your handwriting the entire like
yeah,
volume.
let me find an example. So this page 101 here, I wrote myself a note here.
Mhm.
Uh I'm glad I started doing that because right now is where that's coming in handy.
Trying to find it, yeah.
I'm looking for page 101, for example. That's how this looks in the actual page. Um, as you can tell, like I had to like move some words around a little bit and stuff.
Yeah.
I usually have to, and then I'll like change the width of certain lines in order to make them fit. So yeah, those are all my handwriting on this book, and this is pretty much exactly my handwriting. I didn't tweak it at all. Like
Mhm.
different books, I'll try to change my handwriting to look different ways, but this is just a lot more fun and a lot quicker for me, even than using the pen tablet on my computer, which is
Yeah.
pretty quick already. But it's like this is quicker, and it still looks, I think, pretty good.
And I think
So
this like this gives you like this is your stamp in the volume that will always be there no matter how much it prints, right? Like you can point to this, be like, that is my handwriting in this volume. Like I'm
yeah,
sure that's like a
as long as it doesn't get relettered at some point later
yeah,
down the
yeah,
line.
yeah,
It
yeah.
happens sometimes, but
Mhm.
nothing I've worked on so far has gotten relettered.
Mhm.
Um, here example, yeah, let's 144 here. Sorry if I'm fumbling with my speech live on air here.
No, that's okay.
My wife speaks mostly Japanese, so at home I'm speaking Japanese all the time, or just I'm being quiet at my computer. So like I forget how to talk in English sometimes, and it's not to say I'm great at Japanese. I either speak crappy Japanese or like nothing. Anyway, here's how this looks in the actual page,
Wow.
and I why did I just close? All right, right here. So that's just a raw scan of how I drew that originally.
Mhm.
So like those were drawn with marker, and then
Yeah.
this was something I did like on the computer, but I tried to make it look as analog as humanly possible.
Mhm. And then it
Because
looks like you, left the sound effects that were in the Japanese itself in that page, right? Like, right
oh yeah,
above it?
that's how I generally do it.
Okay.
The difference is if it's like a vocal sound effect, like these are in word balloons, so I
Yeah.
swap these out.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then for things that are vocal type sounds, like let me find if I can find that page where they're saying Kani or whatever, Koni.
Oh, for his, 64 maybe? That's
Man, you
chapter 64 though.
I can't
I don't know the pages, like, in the volume because
yeah,
I read them, like, chapter by chapter, like, that's how I categorize it in my head.
how did I
So,
label?
whatever
So this is
pages
a lot of words. It's happy birthday, Koni Kani
yeah.
is up here. Page 122, 122. I hope all this file browsing is interesting for your audience.
No, it is.
So
At the end of the day, this is probably like a lot of people like even though there is a visual aspect to it, like the length of it will be kind of like a podcast. So like if they want to check out the visual and see like the actual panels that you're showing, that's perfect, but they might just listen in.
cool. Well, this won't be very exciting if you're just listening. The part we're doing right now, at least.
Yeah.
But for the people just listening, it says Coney, happy birthday. And you can see the original here. I just drew it in Sharpie. And here I cleaned it up and stuff and inverted the colors on that.
Mhm.
Uh, but like that kind of stuff, I definitely will swap out in English. And then sound effects like gasp or cough, 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 or a
Yeah.
hem, things like that. Those I
Mhm.
generally tend to completely swap out. But everything else I like keep as is. me find a page with some good sound effects on it. So like, and also these are not vocal right here. For those listening, there's some black word balloons here, black sound effect balloons that say crack, K-R-A-K, and those I did swap out because generally the rule is when you have sound effects that are in balloons like this, then you don't
Mhm,
want to subtitle them. You want to
mhm.
swap them out completely because if you subtitle them, they'll get really busy looking.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, the swish that's right down here, that's outside of a balloon, so I just subtitled, and I'll
and
be
I
right.
like how you, like, elongated, like, the H at the very end to match, like, the what she was doing with the original kanji itself, or I don't know if it's
Thank you.
kanji itself, but, like,
Yeah,
it
I was
it immerses so, like, the problem I don't think it's a problem, but, like, when people read these volumes, a lot of this, like, technical kind of things, like, the things like even this page where you add, like, the extra part on the K in the end to, like, almost,
yeah,
curve it a little, like, because it's so smooth and, like, immersion breaking, like, people won't even recognize that it's being done because it's not breaking
good.
their flow, which is, like, obviously, like, the
That's
great
the
part
goal.
about yeah, yeah.
That's nice to hear. I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to have do lettering that's like complimentary to the book, but doesn't stand out and make it look like, look at me, I'm the letterer.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm doing all these sound effects to serve Ichikawa's original page
mhm.
type artwork. Um, I'm having one of those moments where even though like I've known this person's name, yeah, I was like, am I saying the wrong name like live on this? So I can just double check the script real quick.
Yeah,
Yes, how to go Ichikawa. Um, anyway, so yeah, this POW, for example, I like just used made it out of just shapes and wanted to match the feel of this original sound effect.
mhm,
But yeah, real quick, going back to what you were talking about different sound effects being different in Japanese, like wan
yeah,
wan for barking, nya nya for meow meow,
mhm.
and then like for like a boom, like the original Japanese might be don is like the
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don. Um,
Like, you
so
see that a lot in, like, One Piece like, old One Piece volumes where it's like, "Dong, dong," instead of the boom, yeah.
here's an example of something where I swapped out the original effects because like this is a vocal sound, wah, but I
Mhm,
kept Ichikawa's original exclamation points. So I tried to make this as seamless as possible. Like so I when possible I use the original art if I can.
mhm.
But and in punctuation, obviously I can do that, but like can't do that with like certain things. I'm gonna quickly open up another book here and just show you something I did on a earlier book that
Yeah.
I thought was pretty fun and I've tried to do occasionally. So Maria the Virgin Witch. Let's open up. I haven't opened up these files in years, so it might take me a second here.
No, no worries.
Of course, I did not save the
Looks like
number.
your labeling has changed considerably.
Oh well, what this is I like to label them with regular numbers, but I have
Uh-huh.
to put the what is the word? Well, I can't think of the that
ISBN?
that's a barcode ISBN.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ISBN on each file for the final.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
That way, the publisher can keep all the files together if something gets like out of place.
Mhm,
This is let's go to volume two. I think volume two has more action scenes. Um, and unfortunately, on these earlier volumes, to save space on my hard drive, because I was living in Japan and I had a small hard drive with me, I would delete this extra folder that had just like the properly like the easy for me to remember
mm.
sound effect or like the not sound effects file names. So that makes it very hard to
Yeah,
look through
because
some
'cause I'm
of these.
assuming these TIFF files are, like, massive compared to,
Oh,
like,
very
PNG or yeah.
these take up so much space on my hard drive, especially like Akira and Akira and
Real?
Blood Tracks are the ones that
Oh.
really take up space.
Oh, because those are was Akira also 2400 DPI or
Think maybe I
okay,
would not be surprised. I'll have to check.
yeah.
It was huge though.
Mhm.
But anyway, like so, this is a book. This is like the last book that I did where I replaced all the sound effects completely, and I was very happy to move on to the subtitled approach because
Yeah.
this takes so much time retouching all the pages.
Mhm.
Um, I really want to figure out what page number this is so I can show you show you the layered thing. I'm just gonna pick one of these random pages of the rah 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 because I
Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
the way I did these was pretty consistent. Because this book was a example of something where I did okay, yeah, this is different, but it's a good example. Um, Yeah.
Oh,
Here's the original page. I don't know. Hold on, that's not a good example either. I this is like from like 8 years ago. I think I accidentally deleted the. I usually have like a layer
for
where the
just the
doesn't touch them.
Japanese. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's a good example. So here's how this panel originally looked.
Yeah.
Is this you are sharing your entire screen bar showing
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. You can press the little yeah, you could probably just move it. It's even better.
So here's how the original looked. And this author had a very distinct style of doing sound effects and with brush. It looks like with like a probably like a sumi brush or something, or maybe like one of those scratchy pen things that they use sometimes when making manga.
Hmm.
So I partially retouched it. You can see here, like
Yeah.
I do on and off here, because some of these panels are just so complex that I'm like, if there are things I don't have to retouch because they'll be hidden anyway, then
Might
let's
as
just.
well leave it. Yeah, yeah.
And then I basically just made the sound
Mm.
effects using elements from the original,
Oh.
and also for whatever new lines are here, I just basically copied and pasted. I have a thing I'll show you here for that book in particular. Here, this is my raw file.
Mm.
These are all just like bits of like lines that I like copied um, from the book, um, and then I can make new sound effects from it. For example, so
Oh, that's
that's
awesome.
I did that on that book Maria the Virgin Witch, but I also have done that on a little bit on Land of Lustrous here and there.
Hmm.
Um, trying to think if there's anything else I can show you right now. So let me take a quick glance here and see if there's anything else cool to show you on the computer related to um, Land of Lustrous before I show you some physical paper stuff.
Sure.
Um, this is a weird file. This probably looks like it doesn't make any sense at all. You're really into Land of Lustrous, you might even know what this is. This is something I made where basically for page 45, one 140, page 45, the one that has the, okay, I mislabeled it. Page 145.
145.
See, you
Oh,
can
okay,
see
okay, okay, okay.
my madness in action right now. This one here, I basically just roughly traced over. I'm flipping all over the place. Sorry, trying to go back and forth between two files here.
Oh.
Basically roughly trace like, all right, this is the area, this safe blue area is the safe zone where I'll put the
Hmm.
sound effect. And then I printed this out, and then basically I put a blank sheet over on top of this. That way when I'm drawing in like the words here, I make sure I don't go too far out of what's the safe zone basically, because I can see the red and the blue behind the, through the paper.
Hmm.
So that time lapse that's up on Twitter, you
Yeah, I
can
think it has it. Yeah, they're
you can
basically
see.
like guidelines for where you put them.
Yeah. I'm just gonna look at some previous volumes and see if there's any weird little things I can
Sure.
show you.
I know I
I
was talking about. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
stuff that you'll never see like in actual. So here's a bunch of handwritten stuff for volume 10 or
Lavish Gowns, Volume 10. I don't remember
I'll show you. That's
what
Land
that.
of the Lavish Gowns. That's in the
Okay.
bonus section.
Oh, it's the Omika. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay, okay.
Um, is it this page? No, not that page. Is that not that page? This page, not that page.
Oh,
That's an
oh,
ad. There,
oh, there it is.
Land of the Lavish Gowns, and I just reused
Oh,
the stand up that I made for every volume.
yeah.
And I draw a little separate subtitle there each volume.
That was when they
Um,
were making fun of Karen Gorm's new fit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another page of just hand drawn stuff. I really love this for some reason. The king, and I purposely made that a little bit shaky looking just to kind of like, I don't know if
That they're
you.
scared.
Yeah, I don't know the page that takes place in. I felt so bad for the little blobby little
Oh, it
thing
was
here.
when Foss makes a joke, right? Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
actually changed it to, looks like I changed it to lowercase.
Uh-huh.
I redrew that, but I still made it all really shaky because this is that panel where like Foss is like, take off your shell, and obviously
Yeah.
it's kill the poor little guy.
Oh,
So like, but yeah, this is a really fun page to do, even though I felt terrible for the little critter.
poor Admiral Wallace. Like,
That was a, yeah, that was a really fun page. I'm just looking to see the earlier volumes. Okay, there's like a good example of like a sound effect that I just drew with. I drew that with Sumi brush, like a
Oh,
old
wow.
school Sumi brush where you dip it into the inkwell.
Mhm.
I do that on some books. If you want, I can show you my library of sound effects.
Yes,
So,
please.
all right, let's do that. So this is going to be kind of beyond just Land of the Lustrous, what I'm about to
Mhm.
show you in a minute here. But I'm about to show you pride and joy as a letterer. So I've built up a very large library of sound effects here. Um, so like these are all templates I've made basically, and
Yeah.
I basically I'll use these as starting points. I'm gonna pick Zish just because that keeps coming up so much, and I have so many Zish effects I've made. Um,
Oh, wow.
See, all these are different layers. Like, these are all different things I've made over the years. Some of these are font based. Some of these are not font based.
Mhm.
My older ones are font based. I've pretty much moved away completely from making any new sound effects with fonts. So if you still see me using fonts and sound effects, it's like older stuff that I've been tweaking. Um, I made myself a note here. You accidentally did this one. Grab it from the last time. So obviously, I never grabbed that because I made that note like a year ago. So if I take like I don't know these two vertically oriented ones here.
Mhm.
Um, then I can like if I need to make it fit a certain shape, I can like do all kinds of fun stuff to like tweak it and stuff like that. Or I'll like take it apart a little bit. This one I have all linked together, like pasted together. But some of them I have like it's just separate characters, for example.
So you can
Uh,
move it around however you want.
yeah, and I'm gonna do something that's gonna not gonna make sense for just a second. So it's disappeared, but that's because I'm gonna make a little outline here. If I was using like Illustrator or something, I could just add a stroke around this, but I kind of hate using Illustrator to be honest. So and I don't know how to use it as well as I know how to use this program. So
Mhm.
use what you know how to use.
No,
I'm
that's
not
fair.
limited manga black and white now, so I can make this a nice pink.
Nice.
And yeah, so like that's how I that's a good example of some of the things I make here. Like you got like rustle, ruffle, shuffle, rummage, scratch, scritch, scrape, skirt. Let's open up wham, fwam, thwam, kawam. Um, this is huge, so it's gonna take a minute.
Yeah.
There's all these different versions, even
Wow.
rare ones like rare Pokemon like Zwam and Zwagam. I don't. That looks like I think I did that for Sayuki. That looks kind of like the style I was using in Sayuki. That has a weird sound effect, Zwagam. Um, I'll
This is
just open
really cool, like, that you
it.
have all this catalog too, just not even, like, for you to use it again in the future and save a little time, but also, like, you can look back at your past progress, like, all in one page almost.
Oh yeah, it's very helpful. So this is all sparkly type sound effects, which I use on Land of the. Well, actually, no, I haven't used these. I think I used the shimmer and shine on Land of the Lustrous. That looks like a Land of Lustrous effect.
Mhm.
I usually keep my Land of Lustrous sound effect templates pretty separate from
Yeah.
my other ones. This is my general book templates folder, but and I usually keep everything pretty separate for Land of Lustrous. But I some of the sound effects I do for Land of Lustrous I like so much I will sneak them into
Yeah.
books. Um, but yeah, these are all just like different sound effects for shiny stuff.
Yeah,
And
because
then
I feel like, well, Ichikawa just uses, like, the actual, like, glitter, like, the sparkle shine itself, then, like, put a
yeah,
sound effect for it, right? Because
yeah,
all of them sparkle. Yeah.
you see that in English sometimes, like where it'll
Mhm.
just say sparkle or like something, but like then you'll have other things like glint or whatever.
Mhm.
But I got like here's like animals, birds, animals, bugs, animals, cats. Like let's open up birds for example. There's see I got all
Oh,
these
wow.
different birdie sounds. And this is only as a result of doing like 200 something books now. Like,
Mhm.
it took me a long time to build up this many. Um, but this allows me to keep more consistent volume to volume on different things. Like, I'm like, if there's a cat character that shows up throughout a manga, I'd like to keep the same general sound for the cat that the cat's making,
Mhm.
same general like style. Here's a bunch of growling sounds. Um, I'll open up a couple more of these if you want. This is always like one of the
Yeah,
most
go
fun
for it.
parts of the job for me is making sound effects and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
A bunch of heavy breathing and inhaling sounds. One of them actually said inhale. Um, Okay, and now I want to show you. I have some handwritten stuff that I've made templates of too,
Mhm.
which doesn't mean that I'm like resting on my laurels here too much. I have to go change them all. But
Yeah.
there's going to be profanity in this next one. I warn you. Do you want me to
Okay.
not show that?
No, no, that's fine. You can
Okay.
show
All right. So yeah, here's a bunch of screaming effects
it.
and stuff. So like this one, for example, like is pretty nasty from Battle Angel Alita, but I can like this has so many different letters in it that I can
Yeah.
like grab a letter and use it as a starting point for like another thing, you know. You can see from the name Yuma Mukai here, like there's a lot of these that were for real account. That's the name of the main character, and a lot of
Okay.
people screaming at that guy throughout the series. So I realized I was making so many of those, I figured I might as well start templating them a little bit so that
Mhm.
I could save a little time. I still consider them hand drawn, even if I'm reusing hand drawn stuff. And
Well, yeah, because 'cause you've done it you've
yeah,
done it originally, right? So it still counts, but
yeah. Here's a bunch of scream type effects, and this is all jumbled together because this is probably kind of hard to tell. But like these are all separate things. Like this over here, like a vertical ah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got it, got it, got it.
This I think these are these kind of bubbly looking ones I made for Land of the Lustrous.
Mhm.
Um, those are kind of a Land of the Lustrous look. There's certain things that make the Land of the Lustrous sound very distinct from the others. This one's fun. This is just called Handwriting Struggling, um, and you'll see why in a minute. Just a whole bunch of like type sound effects. This was born from a volume of not Land of Lustrous, De Vergata, where a guy is tied up and is being interrogated and tortured. So there's like a whole bunch of like, he has like he has a thing over his mouth to keep him from like,
Actually talking?
speaking.
Yeah.
So like, that was kind of an interesting start to this file. Um, let's open the laughter one. Both my laughter files look like something out of Joker,
No,
basically.
100%.
That was pretty fun. And then one I gotta show you the handwritten huffs and puffs.
Yeah.
Some these are all done with Sumi brush and stuff.
What's the difference between, like, the green transparency versus, like, the regular transparency?
Oh, that's just some of these files like are grayscale files and some of them are
Okay,
color.
okay, okay. Got it,
Yeah,
got it, got it.
yeah. Most of my sound effects are in black and white, but there's certain ones are in color. All right, I'm gonna open the Land of Lustrous sound effects
Mhm.
catalog here. Most of my Land of Lustrous sound effects I will do from scratch for each volume,
Yeah.
but there are certain things that'll come up over and over and over and over again. So like I'll just like gong 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 used to come up all the time with that
Yeah.
big bell.
Yeah.
So I made sure to do this template just to make sure all the gongs would match.
Mhm.
So that came in handy. This one's called grinder sounds because there's a part
Ah,
where a character is
were you
getting put into a grinder, like in get ground into fine dust. So
mhm.
that's kind of brutal scene. Um, whoosh 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 sound effects right here.
For, like,
So
Bort or even just the wind in general.
yeah, air sounds or people like jumping through the air.
Mhm.
Wince comes up surprising a lot. So like it
Mm,
came up enough that I was like, let's just make some wince templates to start from here. So I'll go back to the camera mode, and I guess we've been spending a long time on this particular topic. I'd
sure.
like to get to your next question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got some physical stuff I can show you too.
Perfect.
Get to it.
I there was certain pages and, like, letterings from certain volumes. Let me pull up the actual chapters or actual volumes that I brought up.
Hmm.
Chapter 34 and 53. Let me see which volumes those are in. This was this, like, sound effect in general.
Hmm.
Which one did I say? Like, really just it hit a punch, like, straight to my gut when I read this the first time.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Like, straight up.
This is really fun, by the way, for me. Getting to do an
I'm
interview
glad. I'm
about
glad.
something I worked on. It's not something that's come up really for me really so far, so it's fun.
And I know it's been, like, a while since you've worked on them, so, like
Well, unfortunately, Land of Lustrous only comes out like once every year or two now,
Ye
so like I get a little rusty between volumes nowadays, and have to remind
no,
myself
blame you.
like the way I work on Land of Lustrous is so very different from how I work on my other books. Yeah, I mean, I will say though, even though Land of the Lustrous initially was the only thing I was doing all hand effects on,
Mhm.
I've started doing some other books completely by hand. Like a Tezuka book I did for Vertical, aka Kodansha, Bomba. I did all the effects by hand on that, for example. All the
Nice,
marker. That was fun.
nice. I'm assuming you have a lot more fun while doing it by hand too, right? Than just
Big time.
yeah.
If you want, did you find that page you were talking about
Yes,
or not?
I did. So it's in this transition right here. So this is where the rain starts, and it's at the end of chapter
What book is this? What volume?
34. This is volume 5.
Volume
Volume
5.
5.
I'm gonna open it on my computer real quick here just
And
so I
it's
can get a
actually
good look at it.
page 144.
44.
Yeah.
Okay, like the single page, like the full page thing with the
Yeah, with the
yeah,
rain, just
yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That was a very complex page because I'm like, there's so much stuff going on here. I need to make sure this is readable, but I also don't
Yeah.
want to dominate because like the original sound effects are like so blended in.
No,
So
exactly. Yeah, so,
hopefully,
like, your lettering kinda, like, almost, like, made it stand out enough for me to pick up on it. Because if
oh, cool.
yours wasn't there, I wouldn't have even noticed, like, that Ichikawa made her own, like, kanji within the rain itself.
Yeah. Here, I'll share this my screen real quick
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
can zoom in on that. Are you seeing this?
Yes. Hold up.
Is it it's showing up for you, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like yeah, I mean I tried my best to try to make it work in with the page. I mean, when you there's so many different lines going in all different directions, it
Mhm.
kind of throws off my ability to make things like work as seamlessly as I might want to. But I
Yeah,
mean, gotta do what you can. So I
and, like
tried to make the width of the lines match as best as I could too.
the S that you use there kinda looks like lightning, and she loves doing, like, the lightnings like that, so, again, like,
I
it
love
matches
design
perfectly.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of lightning bolt looking as. I always thought that looked cool.
And, like, what makes it so great is, like, I love her character introductions, like, at the beginning of, like, the volumes,
Yeah,
and all of this for volume 5 has the same rain, just, like, setting the tone, and it doesn't hit until, like, literally right at the end of the volume itself. So, like, everything just comes together, like, it's just amazing.
it's a beautiful series. I
Yeah.
really love it. I my background in comics is it's not just manga. I mean, I read superhero stuff a long time
Mhm.
before I ever got into manga, and I also read a lot of like indie comics too. And I was kind of in the 8 years I lived in California, I was I was kind of hovering around the indie comics scene there a little bit. I tabled
Mhm.
at Alternative Press Expo a few times there with my friends, and I one thing that appealed to me about Ichikawa's art is it reminded me a little bit of certain kinds of like Western kind of indie comics that I'd see,
Mhm.
like a certain art style that I mean, she's definitely all of her own too.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from it.
No,
You
of
could definitely
course.
see the manga look as far as like large eyes and stuff like that. But like, there was something distinctly worldly about her art style, which I really, really like. So, um, that appealed to me, and I really love the way like the original manga, the black and white looks. I like the anime looks beautiful too. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah. Yeah.
but that just the stark black and white of like
And how
uh,
she uses
yeah,
space so
of
well.
course, in general is black and white, but
Yeah,
her such stark contrast in so many places that it looked makes me think of like I don't know, like an Ingmar Bergman movie or something, like
yeah.
an old black and white like art house movie or something, which is pretty
And
cool.
which kinda fits because like, she used to be a designer before she started working on Linda the Lustrous stuff,
Totally
like
makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She was designing, like, architecture covers or something. I don't remember exactly what she was designing, but, like, book covers, that kinda stuff, like, architecture, like, that was her wheelhouse, like which, again, you can see
I
where
want to
it
see more
leads
of her
into.
stuff.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Because I just have Land of the Lustrous, and then I have I'm blanking on the name, the big art book. Like she's probably done several art books by now, but I have a big
Mhm.
Land of Lustrous related art book that she put out in Japan.
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? You want to grab it
Yes,
real
the,
quick?
like, pseudomorphs of love,
Yes,
is that the
Pseudomorph
one?
of Love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I love that thing.
Just she's
So
too nice with it.
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a fan now. I want to learn more
Mhm.
about what she does, and back when I was living in Japan, I started working on this. I was in Japan for 6 years, and when I was
Yeah.
like go to Tokyo once in a while, and I was thinking I want to like one day I want to meet somebody whose manga I worked on, and I was thinking
Yeah.
like who I most want to meet. I'm like I'd love to meet her. I'd love to
Yeah.
meet her. I'd love to meet also like the Kishiro who did Alita. So
Mhm.
like sorry, I gotta silence my phone here.
No, all good.
Neighbor's calling me. I have a neighbor who checks in on me once in a while. she's
Right.
kind of like she's kind of like bonus mom in a weird way.
We take
It's
those.
fine.
Yeah.
Can't, it's good to have people checking in on you.
Mhm.
Um. Anyway, where was I going with that? So there's my
You would
train of
wanna meet
thought.
them. Yeah. In
I've never been tested for ADHD, but
Japan.
and I'm like 99% sure I have. So if you're flitting topic to topic, that's why.
That's okay.
So, but yeah, her art's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Bottom line, love it. Love working with it. I get to be very intimately acquainted with all this art when I'm working on these different volumes because I'm like zooming in real close and working
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the files and stuff, and
Mhm.
you can really see like the kind of the care that people put in these panels when you see them like up close, especially, and see the level of you know how just how hard some manga artists will try to like keep their stuff looking real sharp, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah.
You had some physical pages you wanted to show off, right?
This is actually a very Land of the Lustrous looking box here that I have
It is.
open. Um, I'm a big fan of geometric shapes in general, which is another thing that appeals to me about her manga.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm not like I don't, I'm not into gems on the level of like thinking necessarily that they have powers or anything. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But I just love the way gems look. So
Mhm.
for me, that's like another thing that's been like, um, that's pretty cool about the manga. Like I got a little amethyst here on my
Oh,
desk.
that's awesome.
I cannot remember the name of this, but looks cool. I just
Yeah.
forgot what it is.
I've been
Anyway,
looking into some gemstones just to have some, but,
yeah,
like, I haven't found one that, like, speaks to me. I
yeah,
guess is, like, the right one, like
mind here. Are you
yeah,
ready to have your mind blown?
I'm ready. Oh
Whoa!
my goodness. Oh.
Yeah. Whoops. So
Oh, that is awesome.
find my house.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got some of my hand drawn stuff. This is from all different titles, not just like
Mhm.
Lustrous. So here's a
Let me
few things I did
see.
for Blood on the Tracks
Let me
15,
see
by
if
the
I
way. Um, oops. And these are just all different things that I'll grab and use for signage and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, these are the original letter forms I was drawing for a comic or a manga that I call them comics a lot because they are comics, but
Yeah.
it's a habit. This is a manga that I'm working out that's coming out next year from Last
Nice.
Gasp. It's a self-help manga about
Nice.
interpersonal communications.
That was
But
one of the, spreadsheets that you showed, right?
one of the what?
One of the spreadsheets with your trackers? You
Yeah.
did for one of those, yeah.
And that was a fun book too because that one I did all the sound effects by hand, and
Nice.
you'll see it next year sometime.
Nice. I will be sure to pick it up.
Yeah, I have something I really want to show you, but I don't know if I'm allowed to show this yet or not. So I may have to skip it.
No, no worries.
Something I drew some really cool. Here, I'll just cover it, and so
Yeah.
you just see no. You're like, I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
yeah, I don't know what that is. Wow, that's
Draw some
crazy.
stuff that looked kind of like a little bit like tag artist, like graffiti style, a little bit,
Mhm.
which is fun. But I don't know quite the level of secrecy on that book yet. So
Got it.
here's uh here's some examples of
Tokyo.
stuff I did. This is on big paper because I did this with like Sumi. I'm not used to working backwards here. Did this with like a Sumi brush, like
Wow.
big old brush that I bought in Japan, and like the
The
ink and all
O.
that.
Yeah, yeah. You
So
have, like,
that's
an stone and everything? Like,
huh?
you have, like, an ink stone and everything?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a sometimes I'll just run out of room on one thing.
And
And
get to do it? Yeah. Because when you
these
scan it, you can move them around, right? So,
oh yeah,
yeah,
these are all from a volume of Blood on the Tracks.
nice.
Um, and the reason I like to do some of these so large is because then I just have extra detail and to work with, and I can make a nice, really high quality scan.
Mhm.
The bigger you start from, the better as far as like the most flexibility you have. Here's a bunch of stuff I did for another Blood on the Tracks volume that where this guy's going through kind of a mental breakdown basically, and
I read
scenes like are
Yeah.
really scratchy, like almost like he's scratched into a wall or something.
I've read up to the snow part, if that means anything to you.
Oh, the snow part's kind of
Yeah.
that's where things really fall apart for that
Yeah.
character.
I haven't
Yeah.
continued past that. I know it ended recently, like, serialization-wise, so
Can I just say a side note, like
yeah.
that manga's been kind of a trip for me to work on in various ways because
I can
like
imagine.
I
Oh,
don't usually like tie a lot of personal events too much into what I'm working on at the time.
yeah,
It's completely unrelated, but I will say first of all, like just some of the experiences I've had with my own mom over the years. Like
yeah.
my mom was nothing like the mom in that manga as far as like my mom had was a lot more nice at time most of the time,
Mhm.
but there were certain things about that relationship that kind of reminded me of like, oh, this is hitting too deep at times.
Yeah.
And just some of kind of dealing with narcissism and stuff like that can be difficult. But then like this year it's like there's like my mom passed on in March of this year,
Mhm.
so like there was like stuff relating to the mom's health in recent volumes.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that really kind of like was hitting home on that, and there's also stuff dealing with depression with the main character, which this year was honestly a depressing year for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was like really weird how a lot of
Everything
that,
kinda, like, connected to your yeah,
yeah, it's really syncing up with real life in a lot of weird ways and
yeah.
freaking me out a little bit. But anyway, here's like an example
Oh,
of like
that's
a
the
handwritten
letter.
letter. I
Oh,
do that
wow.
for a lot of. I've done that for a lot of books actually, and it's really fun. Here's some more handwriting stuff that was really fun to do. Just like
Oh.
this is stuff that was on a grave.
Mhm.
Oh wait, that might be a spoiler. Don't look too closely at the thing I
Okay,
just
got
showed
it.
you.
No worries.
Forget forget your lying eyes. Sometimes I'll do something where this is something I normally don't really want to replace, but it kind of just depends on what they want. So like
Mhm.
a menu in a restaurant, I would prefer to keep the Japanese and
Yeah.
like subtitle it, but I had to change this, and this is tricky because there's no space because it's
Mhm.
vertical. So in that case, I just printed out a version of the panel without anything in it, and then that way I could like make sure I'm keeping in the space there.
Yeah.
Right. But don't mind me as I just there's just like random things like this stuff like this is just my regular handwriting, but like there's just so many things in like manga where it's like just handwriting, so I just do it myself, and you can see I like
Mhm.
start drawing something, then I scratch it out and
Yeah, yeah.
blah blah blah. Um,
I mean, it's cool to see, like, I guess, like, the different attempts that it took for you to actually, like, put it together, you know?
it's a lie. Obviously, that I was not up here in the phone.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I forgot to draw another eye in there, so I'll just draw it off to the side and scan it and move around. So in that one, like here, I printed out the original thing.
Mhm.
Um, and initially, I was going to draw in those word balloons. I was going to draw the "It's a lie" thing, but then
Yeah.
eh, I can make it fit. I'll just make it fit on the computer. Um,
For, like, retouching and whatnot, it doesn't make it harder for you if there's a lot of, like, speed lines or anything in the background, or is it
incredibly difficult.
yeah.
So speed lines, if they're just straight speed lines with no
Yeah,
no like angle to them at all,
yeah,
that's super easy. Then I just copy paste 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 paste.
yeah.
What what really kills me though is if it's like something coming at you, or there are no shortcuts for that at all
Mhm.
that I've found, at least. And obviously, and the way I work is pretty backward in some ways compared to how a lot of manga letters work. So like I'm sure some people have solved this by now, but I just have to draw all that in basically,
Yeah.
which is a headache sometimes. Um, so recently for Last Gasp, I did the re released new letter version of I Saw It by why am I blanking on his name? The guy who did um Barefoot Gen,
Mm, I don't recognize.
Keiji.
Mm.
Yeah. So I printed out the cover, and I actually the actual book I colored the cover. Do you
Oh,
mind hanging on a second? I'm just going
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
got a couple of books here I can show you. So here's dropping things. Don't mind me. So here's how it looks in print.
Oh, wow.
That was fun. That was my first time coloring something
Mhm.
for a manga release, and all the sound effects in that are subtitled, of course, but like I'm trying to find a good, there's not that many sound effects in this book, so I'm just trying to find a good, clear example. I did them all by hand. So
Wow.
those are all here. Like,
Speaking of color, I know that the Akira like edition is in all color. Did that change your like
the original, the version that Epic put out in the 90s, covered by Steve Ali Optic,
yeah.
that was color, but
Mm-hmm.
the 35th anniversary was in black and white.
Was in black and white. Okay, got it.
But I mean, the original color pages that were in the Japanese version, like the
Yeah,
hand painted stuff that Otomo did, that we retained the color.
got it.
Uh, so this is actually real quick thing. So this logo,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the type I did on the computer, but then I like used flames from inside the book for the
Yeah.
inside of the logo. But I was playing around with a hand drawn logo, but I was using such a small piece of paper for some reason that it like makes no sense when you look at it. But that technically says I saw it.
Got it.
So that's just an example of like I do things that are kind of chaotic, really, but if somebody else had to work with them. And I even made some like paper cutout flames because originally I was doing like I was like I'm gonna do completely 100% hand done everything on this logo.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just gonna quick look and see if anything else. Oh man, this was a fun book. I'm going down memory lane right now as I'm
Go ahead.
doing this. So a book called Sky Grazer by Ishiguro, and I can't remember his first name right now, but the guy who does Heavenly Delusion.
Yes.
So I got to do that, and that was really fun. And that had a lot of hand drawn stuff, so like a lot of signage and
Oh.
a lot of magazine stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll show you a few of those things. There was like
Nice.
I actually wound up making an entire alphabet on my computer. Of I haven't made it into a font or anything yet. I don't really know how to do that, but I made an alphabet of my handwriting there. I did make a font of my handwriting 20 years ago, way back
Yeah.
before I did manga,
Uh-huh.
and I knew so little about how to set up a font. So like all the spacing's off and like the sound and it looks
Yeah.
this, but I still use it occasionally in manga. And what I use it for is for when people, if there's a note written by somebody who can't write and it looks
Oh,
gotta go like for kids' handwriting, I use my own handwriting font for that.
that's
Here's a really funny funny funny
no
page right
photo.
there. Yeah, those the kids in that the teenagers in that manga are kind of a bunch of pervs, so they're like
Hmm.
looking at a bunch of weird magazines and
I
the
do want to get to
weird
the
different strokes for different folks. But
Mhm.
anyway, you want to what?
I love the Heavenly Delusion anime when it came out,
I
like,
really want to watch that.
winter. It's so well done. So
That's
I
on my
wanna
list.
check out the other works that the author has done. As
This one,
so
this is not going to make any sense unless you read the manga. But there's
ego.
a part in there. See, interesting. You read it as ego. That's one way to read it. There's also arrow and go. There's a thing in the original where there's like a kanji thing that was made, but it's like it's like a puzzle,
Uh-huh.
and there's all these different ways to read it.
Okay.
So I had to replicate that. They wanted me to replace it, but I had it's like a badge on this guy's. There's also a badge on this guy's jacket, and I had to replicate that and basically make it so that there's this thing you could read in all these different ways, depending
Mm.
like the G had to be read as a 6 possibly,
Okay, yeah.
and the E had to be possibly read as an arrow. So that was an incredibly
Wow.
challenging thing to do. But that was really fun.
Do you
There's
get
a lot
any, like,
of stuff.
notes or communication with, like, the Japanese, like, department for it
I wish
on,
I
like
did. I would love to find out what they think about it.
Yeah,
So far, only one project I've ever worked on, I've ever heard what the author thought of it, and thankfully he liked it. So
nice. That's
that
good.
was that's a project that's the one I was like, I can't show you too much of this right now, but that's something I'm
Mhm.
working on right now. It's kind of different where I don't know the full details of how it's being published, but I think it's being published in English same time or slightly before the Japanese version,
Oh,
maybe.
wow.
Like I'm getting these art files with no sound effects. I get like a separate thing showing me where they want sound effects,
Yeah.
but I get to be like the original letterer
Oh,
on it,
wow. Nice.
which is pretty fun.
Well, I'm excited to check it out whenever it comes out then.
Yeah, it'll be coming out from Kodansha chapter
Yeah.
by chapter. I'm not. It might have been publicly released or publicly announced by now. I just didn't.
Mhm.
didn't
No, I don't want you getting in trouble for it, so, like, it's okay.
yeah, I'm looking to see if anything. Here's some more stuff for that Ishiguro book. Just experimenting with like different. hand drawn typefaces.
Mhm.
That's something even like a long time ago, even when I was a little kid, I used to love drawing, writing different letters and stuff. Um, Actually, if you want, I can show you something really funny in a minute here related to that.
Yeah, go for it.
It's in the other side of my office, so I'll have to run through and get it. But
Sure.
I'll just do a quick glance. Okay, here's a good example of some really just terribly difficult stuff. So this is, you can see this yellow stuff here is the original page.
Yeah.
This is like a journal someone wrote with all kinds of notes and stuff in it. So like I have to
Wow.
draw, I like clean up the page and I print it out and then I draw it, write it all in and scan it and then put it into the page.
Oh my goodness.
I've had a lot of stuff like that I've had to do on different titles, especially
Do you
on
feel like,
what's out.
letters are like, what, menus? Especially with real count, they're, like, doing stuff on their smartphones often,
Oh my
right?
god, I had to make an entire smartphone like operating system design language for that,
Oh my
which
goodness.
is kind of tied into my old job I had back in 2008,
Yeah.
2007. I was doing graphic design for a startup for a couple of
Mhm.
years there. So I had to design some like app stuff. Well, this is technically before, this is like right when the iPhone was coming out. So it was actually for like a chat plugin that went into AIM Instant Messenger, basically. So,
Wow.
but I had to make all this like branding and for that. So
Mhm.
that actually kind of gave me a little early experience that kind of got me ready for what real account would eventually have me do. Funny enough.
Nice.
So I mostly showed you what's in this box. I'm gonna
Mhm.
give me a second to put all this away. I never actually finished telling you about the step-by-step process of how I letter a manga.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll probably do that real quick and try not to like get lost completely in the weeds like I did.
No, all good.
But I have something to show you here. I was telling you about how I used to do I used to have fun doing weird letters, like even when I was a little kid.
Mhm.
This is from 1994 when I was 14 years old.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
this is something. Yeah, I told you I'm old. This is something I did way back then for like the school literary journal.
Wow.
So that's just like me just doing a bunch of weird, goofy stuff with like lettering stuff. So that's just an example of like, I enjoyed messing around with letters all along, even though I had no idea I was gonna do lettering for comics.
That's crazy that you still have that. That's a long, like.
I keep the important stuff.
Mhm.
So, but also like this past year, I spent this entire past year cleaning out my parents' house, basically. So like,
Mm.
I found a lot of interesting treasures in there, like family treasures and like sentimental things and stuff. Part of the reason I took so long to do is because I was just like, I have to find every family photo that's in this house, for example, and my
Yeah,
mom
yeah.
put them away in all kinds of random spots. So it just like all the way up until like the day before the buyers bought the house, like I was
Oh,
still
wow. Just
like
sorting through everything?
finding
Yeah.
important things up until
Mhm.
like the last day, just
Oh
because
my
I would have
goodness.
needed like 6 months just to
Mhm.
finish. Um, if you want me to rewind, I can quickly kind of tell you, like, try to summarize it quicker,
Yeah, sure.
how I letter the process. So the translator will translate the book. Editor and proofreader will go over it. I'll get the art files and the script. And my general process nowadays is, I'll go through page by page and do that spreadsheet that I showed you earlier,
Mhm.
um, just so I know what needs what, basically. That helps also give me a little bit of better of an idea of like how long the book might take, so I can kind of plan other things around it.
Yeah.
Because I'm juggling like different books at the same time usually for
Mhm.
different publishers who have different needs.
Yeah.
So then I place all the files in InDesign and crop them, make sure that they're all uniform size and all that stuff, and make sure that nothing, stuff I talked about earlier about the bleed.
Mhm.
Um, and then what I do is I usually do all the dialogue first, and I'll go through, do a rough paste of everything. There's like InDesign scripts, like one called Letterer Buddy,
Uh-huh.
which I haven't used yet because I tried to make it. I couldn't quite get it working on my system for some reason, but it's really good for a lot of people. That helps speed up their process. For me, I just go through and I'm just like, I have InDesign shrunk to about 80% width of my on my main monitor, and then I have a skinny little text file on the side where I'm just like copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, you know, throughout the
Mhm.
entire book, and just do like a very rough paste of all the text, so I know where it goes. And then I go through and I fine tune everything. I'm like, okay, I the shape of the word balloon's this. I want to make sure it fits that shape well. I want to make
Yeah.
sure I don't hyphenate too much unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Um, it's also very important when you have things like commas, like breaking up sentences. You definitely want a line break there rather than like in the
In the
middle of
middle.
the
Mhm.
place, unless you have to. And even down to like, I can't. Of course, I can't think of a good example right now. But like, let's say someone's talking about a brown dog, for example. Like, oh,
Mhm.
look at that brown dog. I might try to have brown dog on the same line, for example, because
Mm.
it's like these are two connected things. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it as easy to read as possible.
Mhm.
Um, and also like line by line, I'll shrink the width sometimes just to make things fit a little bit better, just to avoid hyphenation. And that's something I definitely recommend. It takes a lot. It definitely adds more time to every
Mhm.
book you do, but I think it makes things look better in general. I can see a very marked difference between my early books when I didn't do that versus when I
Mhm.
did. And I can also unfortunately see that it from checking my logs of like time I put into each book. It added a few hours onto each book after that, but I think it
Yeah.
looks better. Anyway, so I
That's a
do that.
nicer end result. Yeah.
Yeah. And if there's any like hand drawn like text speech stuff, for example, I'll do that. And then I do all the sound effects, starting as many of them from the template files I have as I can.
Mhm.
So like I'll go through the script using search, and I'll be like, all right, search for does bang show up, does bam show up, wham show up,
Yeah.
basically. And certain books, like I can tell, like, all right, this is an action manga. I'm not really gonna have to search for zap or wham or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, but like just go through search. Okay, here's every page that has like you know buzz showing up in it. So I just pull up the buzz sound effects, pull up those pages, and just drop things in as I need to and tweak them. And
Mhm.
then there's always leftover sound effects that I don't have templates for that I'll make from scratch.
Yep.
And that's how I make new templates too. Is usually through that process. I'm a big fan of making templates for yourself because you'll save a lot of time. Um, and then there's like miscellaneous text like signage or books or handwritten notes. And I almost always will do handwritten notes, handwritten if I can, even if the original like looks like it was done with a font, a
Mhm.
quote in quotes font.
Yeah.
I'll still try to like handwrite it by hand just because I want
More
that
authentic. Yeah.
authentic feel. And also there are different things where I'll have to like switch up my handwriting style because I'm like one book I just did has like it's like in the back of a video rental store. There's like the staff notebook where like at the end of each closing shift they write down notes. So
Mhm.
there's like three different people writing notes. So like one person I wrote in all caps and kind of like really harsh looking letters, like just to be like this person's kind of like a this person's a little bit on the edge of like this person an intense person probably is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
And then like one person I went with as beautiful and neat of handwriting as I could possibly do. And then one person I just used my basic standard handwriting
Yeah.
for.
And I'm
Uh,
assuming, like, none of that was, like, instructed with the way that, like, the kanji looked, right? Or
well, it depends. Some books you can tell in the
Mhm.
original they were like that. I try not to go too far beyond what was in the original, but there are
Yeah.
some certain cases where um, let me show you a good example if you don't mind me stepping off screen
No,
here.
go
It's
ahead.
one of my proudest projects I've ever worked on. I really love to work on this book. Heaven's Door by Keiichi Koike.
Mhm.
Um, by the way, which if you haven't seen it in person, let's see if I can do this without ripping it while doing it from this angle. There's a cool little die cut section in
Oh,
here,
oh.
which was incredibly difficult to lay out
Oh,
and
wow.
get to work, but it worked. So I'm going to quickly glance forward here. There's a part where there's a handwritten note that a guy left on
Mhm.
somebody's table. So there are these handwritten notes here, which are a little blurry, unfortunately, on my webcam.
Yeah, yeah, no
But
worries.
in the original, those were just like done with like a font, but like
Mhm.
it didn't look super handwritten to me. But I
Yeah.
was like, this is clearly a handwritten note. And there is an earlier panel where you can see like the note and with illegible, unreadable text.
Mhm.
So that kind of thing where I took a little bit of liberty with, and they were fine with that.
Nice.
So
What
okay,
was
anyway,
the manga called? The
it's called Heaven's Door,
Heaven's Door. All right.
and
I definitely need to check it out then.
this is a cool manga. I love
Yeah.
this manga, and also this glows in black light,
Oh,
which if it
really?
weren't light right now, I'd show you because I have
Yeah.
ones that are kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spoil anything, but
Mhm.
I do want to open and show you to a page and just show you how wild this book looks. Sometimes this guy's art is very
Dude, what the
psychedelic.
heck?
So yeah,
Oh my goodness.
he's known for this was his first thing being first full book being released in English, but
Mhm.
he's known for doing very psychedelic, unusual art. And this is like probably my personal showcase, in my opinion, of like I think my favorite lettering I've done. Like
Nice.
that and Land of Lustrous being the two favorites.
Yeah.
Um anyway, so like back to the process, I'll do like the miscellaneous text, and then I'll also do things like gutter notes, like certain signs and stuff. Maybe I won't retouch.
Mhm.
I prefer not to retouch them, not just because it's less work, but also because I like to like when you're watching like a movie from another country, you'll see sound effect or like subtitles for it'll say like hamper shop in Japanese for
Yeah, yeah,
the subtitle. I kind of like to do that if I can. If it is a really cool looking sign, for example, in the Japanese,
yeah. Mhm.
it's a pretty simple sign, for example, or simple book design. Just for the sake of quick readability, then I'll change out everything so you don't have to keep looking back and forth between a gutter
Like
note
the
and stuff.
note. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there's stuff like table of contents or author forward or afterward or bonus stuff,
Mhm.
translation notes. In the case of translation notes, that like I was mentioning earlier, that's all original to the adapted version, so that's where I get to have some real fun. Like on um,
How do you go about like picking those pages, I guess, other than like feel? Is it something that like
well,
you when you read it for the first time, you're like, "Oh, this might be really cool," or like the perfect shot for the translation notes, or is it
oh, you're
something
talking about the main image I use for the
Yeah,
translation notes?
yeah.
Oh yeah, for Land of the Lustrous in particular, yeah, I just try to find a panel that's like really unique and evocative looking. Like
Mhm,
I'm gonna quickly open up. I'll share my screen here again in just a second. Because
mhm,
all right, so let me share this. So there's like extra steps here. Okay,
alright.
do you see this? That
Yes.
that's very vague of me. Do you see this?
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
so you can see I used this picture of Foss waiting 10,000 years or however long
Yeah,
it was. That's the one
end
I
of,
used in the final.
volume 11.
But I have all these. Let me get this centered in the frame, all nice. Okay, which one was that? So I'm gonna turn that layer off. This black behind there, but I tested different things. Like here's a version
Mhm.
that it was like the big blast at the end. Spoiler alert, sorry.
No, it's okay.
One
Well,
where there's this that would have looked cool too.
yeah,
The reason I didn't do that, that was my very close second choice, but
mhm,
it's kind of close thematically to a different one I'd done, which
got it.
also is a reason maybe I should have used it. But um, this I thought looked pretty cool too.
So
But I tried to.
you might not know because you don't read the Japanese volumes, but Ichikawa actually made the biggest change for this volume in these 2 pages. It wasn't a dandelion before, it was actually a young version of Foss
Oh wow.
that they and but she swapped them out for the actual volume version.
Yeah, you get that a lot with like
Yeah.
manga. Like I know Blood on the Tracks changes a lot from its original version. Like
Mhm,
um, that I had seen with some of the magazine version, and like there are some certain times where like there'll be like a couple page, 3 pages that'll be condensed to one, or
mhm,
vice versa, something that'll be spread out a bit more.
yeah.
Um, hold on, I'm gonna turn off some extraneous layers. Here's another thing I was thinking of was like
Oh,
this
no.
feet, which I thought would have been
Affirmation
cool
of
too.
art? Oh my goodness.
Um, then like just
Yeah.
coming at you. Um, I really like this one, just the Earth getting hit by.
With the
That
little
was
smiley faces that she draws on
tempting.
there.
Yeah, this one of Sensei,
Mhm,
and then I was also like, oops, I was thinking of also doing one where it's just the Earth and slightly going off the panel border,
mhm.
which I thought was pretty cool too. But I don't know, I just wound up going with this one with
Yeah.
the Eternal Agony picture. So that's
Poor boss.
what I'll do on thank you. That's what I'll do on each volume is I'll just pick out like what are my favorite panels that look.
Yeah, if you don't mind showing, like, what you just showed for the other volumes, that like, seeing, like,
Oh, I'll show you some more. Yeah.
what the alternatives used to be and what
So
ended up being the final project.
here's volume 11.
Mhm.
So I went with that one with them looking off into the dark clouds,
Yeah,
which is
right before the invasion. Mm.
pretty menacing. Yeah. This is just what's the difference between? Oh yeah, yeah. I think I took a cloud out of one of them just in order to like make more space for the text. Here's a alternate part of that, which I thought looked cool, except
Mhm.
there's no that left more room for the text, but like I
Yeah.
wanted to have some of that sky in there too, so that's why I went with this instead.
Mhm.
Um, got this one here, like
Oh.
everybody chopped up on the. Uh, I thought this was a beautiful
Oh,
panel.
on the Kurama region or the Dark Moon? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like.
Oh,
I
it's fire.
I was really really close to choosing this, but then I
With
decided.
steel? Oh my goodness.
I really like to do ones where like they're like something's going off the edge too.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really happy you enjoy this part of it because this is like my favorite. One of my favorite parts of each book is getting to like choose a presentation for the translation.
No, it's so cool to see how, like, what could have been almost, right? Yeah.
This one, had there only been one note or a short note, I could have done
Mhm.
this, but I needed to leave some more space. That's just an early version. I'll show you some others if you want to see.
Yay!
Um,
If you got, like, this set up for all the other volumes, I'm more than happy to look
yeah, I could show you all of them if you wanted to.
at.
Um, those ones I don't have to search too much for because they're the last file on each one.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite translation
Oh,
page.
so good.
I loved the way this turned out, and I just
Especially with the gold dripping out from it. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Let me show you some alternate. That was like my first choice all along, that
Mhm.
one. But let's see. Turn that off a second. Hold on, I gotta turn off some other random stuff here.
Yeah, it looks like there was other stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
there it is.
What? That's not showing. Okay, hold on a minute. Where's the black box? Let me just move some layers around here. This might totally break this, but it's okay. I'm not saving it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, don't I
Yeah.
don't want you to oh,
Okay, that's not there. I was like I hadn't blocked off stuff yet, but I was going to use parts
mhm.
of the shattered face here and then block off the parts here that are cut off here so it looks smooth.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and that's what that black, I'm assuming, is for.
yeah, and here is a Foss just hanging out watching a shooting star or
Yeah.
whatever. It's been long enough since I worked on this. I can't quite remember the context.
Mhm.
And one is this wedding scene,
Mhm.
which I thought about. Uh, different version of the wedding scene. This is
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that looks kind of cool and mysterious. That's just like one of the things I love about Ichikawa's art is it's so mysterious looking.
Mhm.
Another one is Sensei, and then the winner
And then
right
the
there,
winner, yeah.
winner chicken dinner. All right, that was volume. Sorry, I'm having a hard time closing this window for some reason. I'm getting old, man. Getting old. I'm getting old.
Yeah, I don't wanna date
Age,
you, but
age comes for us all, man.
yeah.
Age comes for us all.
Like, I always think I'm old, but you referencing some years, I'm like, I wasn't even born then, so
Yeah,
it's
you
just
know, I
for
can get
God's
used to the
sakes,
fact
like,
that I am old enough now that that's the case.
yeah.
This one was different because this was a two-page one. This is the first time I'd done a two-page one.
Was this
So
for
I did.
volume 10
Hold on.
or 9? Okay.
So this is I can't. Was that Ruby or not? I don't know.
Red Diamond. Red
Yeah,
Diamond.
Red Diamond coming into the world.
Mhm.
So I just basically did like a diptych here of two parts of that scene.
Mhm.
Um, so like, and then there's like alternate thing where here's Sensei with all the gems. Um,
Saying, "Hey, leave me, like, go with Foss."
yeah. But I kind of knew in my heart I wanted to do the thing with Red Diamond
Mhm.
all. There's an alternate thing with the Lunarians coming in. So yeah, I didn't have too many alternates on that just because I had a pretty clear vision for that volume.
Yeah, for what it would be.
Yeah, I just thought Red Diamond was a neat little character. Volume 8, got some Lunarian action here.
Mhm.
Um, this one I was gonna possibly take the white out there so they would blend in with the background, but
Mhm.
I decided not to do that because I'm trying not to do too many close-ups of characters' faces on these pages unless
Yeah,
it's something like really unique, like the
yeah.
shattered Foss, for example.
Mhm. Or like the head. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to just have more like mysterious things or things from the distance. If you like this kind of thing, remind me. I can show you something related to another manga in a minute where I had a
Mhm.
lot of fun doing the um, translation notes. I loved the way this
Yeah.
one
Just
turned too, like the
amazing.
mending of the neck.
Volume 7 is my favorite volume of the
That was a
series.
cool one.
So, like
Yeah, that was where Lapis Lazuli showed up, right?
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
I thought Lapis Lazuli was a really cool character, and I really like that stone anyway. So there's a
Oh,
lonely
wow.
off into the water scene, uh, leaving.
Cinnabar.
What's
Oh, I don't actually remember
voices?
this panel, though. Is this like a meshing between 2 or
I think maybe I did that. I
mm.
don't remember. It's been a
Yeah,
few years.
yeah, yeah.
This I would have loved using, except like I would have had to probably draw in too much stuff that wasn't there in the first place, and
Mhm.
I try not to do that too much unless I absolutely have to because
Yeah,
I don't know what the original author would have put there.
makes sense.
Um, I thought that was a nice looking scene too.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back. Let's go volume 6.
And I know
Volume,
that the, what is it? Volumes 1 through 3 were put out in a pretty tight timeline of, like,
oh
couple
yeah,
months from each other. How was that from your end? Like, when were you contracted to do them?
in this book. Well, I think it was 27. Here, let me quickly
Mhm.
check my time card that I made. I don't have to keep a time card as a freelancer, but I do just so I know.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was beginning of 2017. I started that. Yeah, I mean, about 2 months apart is pretty normal for like a series that has several volumes that are ready to
okay,
go.
got it.
Um, and on this series, it was great because this series takes a lot less time than my average book.
Mhm,
Instead of taking like 50 hours per volume, like a lot of the averages. I mean, this one, the first volume took 40, but after that, it was about 20 to 30 each volume, which is
mhm,
kind of a breeze compared to other books.
yeah,
So anyway, you got this nice hand here, just a smaller version, and
mhm.
just one other thing I thought of.
With Ghost, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. It's weird. I'm like, obviously, I work on this, but like the
It's been
fans
a
are
while since you yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
fans are way more attuned to like the details. Like I forget people's names, for example.
No, no.
And I'm just like I work on this, and I'm like I have so many other things I work on that sometimes I can't remember everything I want to remember. Okay, this was my only choice for this one then.
Nice.
So I liked how that turned out.
I mean, I essentially reread the series in some aspect, like, once a month when a chapter comes out. Obviously, it hasn't been once a month recently. She's been going on a lot of breaks, but yeah.
Yeah, I still technically only read it once, just while I've been going
Mhm.
through it.
While you're
But
going through it, yeah.
I like to space out my rereads of stuff quite a bit. All right, this I
Yeah.
only had one of.
Which
Recently, I've actually
yeah,
been rereading Sandman for the first time since high school.
nice.
Oh my god, that book holds up so well. Read all of it, and now I've been reading the last couple volumes that came out since I was in high school.
Mhm.
So, masterpiece of comic art. Um, this one I really liked the final choice, but like I had one more thing I was thinking of too. This kind of
Oh,
fluffy looking one.
almost getting taken up into
Yeah.
uh, the clouds or the Lunarian ships, yeah.
All right, two more volumes here to show you.
Alright.
So that one I have a little. I don't remember what this was. It almost looks like a campfire picnic or something, but I don't think
Yeah,
that's
this was,
really.
when they were trying to find Foss because he
Mm.
got eaten up, I think, or
Yeah.
no, taken to the sea, so they were looking for him.
And then my other
It's
idea was this seashore scene.
mm,
So
it's actually rare. Ichikawa doesn't usually put the stars, like, in the background. That
yeah.
was one of the only chapters of, like, maybe 3 that there were stars in the background, and the
Oh
fact
well.
that you used that specific one for it was, like yeah. It makes it easy for me to find it when I'm looking for, like, a specific detail. I'm like, "Where was this again? Oh, it's in the like, the translator's note for volume 2. Okay, yeah, let me find it."
Yeah. This one still might be one of my favorites. So I just really like that. I like that blub 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 effect going off the edge. And then I did an alternate one here, but
Most different.
I preferred this approach of like
Like
shaping the
playing
bottom
with
of
the
the
border?
box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd never done that in any other translation note sessions before.
Mhm.
Let me quickly show you if you don't mind and if you have the time.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
know if I'm going on too long at any point.
No, I
Um,
have work in a bit, but I still got plenty of time, like,
okay.
yeah.
So O Maidens in Your Savage Season. I really loved doing the translation notes sections on these because I would go for each one. I would go with like that. That wasn't a particularly mysterious type manga, really. It's just like
Mhm.
a teen romance thing, and it was very charming, really
Yeah.
well written manga. But like, I wanted to just kind of go with like scenes that felt like film stills in a way,
Mm.
and that's like kind of why I laid it out like in these strips, basically. So
So then would the translation note come, like, the page after? Or, like, this would be, like, the
yeah,
cover for it?
so
Okay.
that's like like things where I have like, all right, I'm gonna tell you something boring about printing right now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
these things called signatures,
Uh-huh.
which is if you look at the edge of a soft cover or some hardcovers or something,
Mm,
you'll see that the pages are actually a bunch of like. Tell you what, let me go back to regular camera mode and I'll show you what
mhm.
I'm talking about here. Um, I don't know if this will show up on my blurry webcam, but if you look at the edge of this, oh, this is not. This is a little too blurry.
Oh, there's, like,
There's
some
actually like it looks like a whole bunch of little like smaller sections at
Oh,
the
yeah, 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 yeah. I know what
so
you're talking.
basic
Yes.
yeah, they're groups of 16 pages each, and those are called
Mhm.
signatures.
Mhm.
And so it's almost like if you think of like American like floppy comics, you know what I mean? It's like you put
Yeah.
a bunch of the little floppy comics in there.
Mhm.
So you have to figure out the total amount of pages in a book based on how many signatures you're printing. And then
Mhm.
there's different stuff that comes in when you do color pages, but I don't really know the technical side of that. I just prepare stuff to go to print. I don't really do the printing. I don't do the printing side.
Yeah.
So when you add in translation notes, then you wind up usually with extra pages to fill
Mhm.
because you'll have more pages than were in the Japanese version.
Yeah.
Um,
Does the
and then sometimes,
Japanese use 16 as well, or is it a different
yeah, generally. Um, so sometimes you'll take out some stuff that was in the Japanese version,
Mhm.
nothing important, but like ads for stuff that was in the Japanese market, for example.
Yeah.
So sometimes that gives you some more space to work with, but then
Mhm.
sometimes you'll have a thing where it's like you add two pages of translation notes, and then you suddenly have like 14 pages
14,
that you
yeah.
have to fill with something.
Mhm.
And some publishers will just go with blank pages, and then some publishers will fill them with ads for other books.
Yeah.
Um, I'm about to say is probably not good because like I should be all for putting ads in the back and be like buy more books, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't like it being loaded full of ads. So for me, it's like if I have the freedom on the book, and I usually do, like I'll extend the translation notes out just to make them take up a little more space
Mhm.
so that I don't know, it kind of works well.
No.
I'll go back to this.
For some of the volumes, like for Land of the Illustrious, some of them have, like, the inside covers, just
Yeah.
looking at, like,
Oh
volume.
yeah, I put those in the back of the
Okay,
book.
okay. Got it, got it, got it.
Yeah, that didn't start. We didn't start off doing it that way, but then at one point the editor was like, "Let's do that from now on." And I thought, all
Yeah,
right,
because I noticed, like, with volume 5, like, you put, like, the previous volumes, like, the
yeah.
inside covers on there. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll open up real quick the PDF for this, and for
Yes.
some reason my Adobe Acrobat likes to crash a lot, so always
Okay.
has to take a second for it to like actually open up.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks like it's open, and then
Oh,
keeps me in suspense.
oh,
So,
okay.
for example, here, like here's the intro thing, and then I
Mhm,
basically in this book there's a bunch of pages to fill, so I just put two notes on each page,
mhm.
basically. See, Adobe is not letting me scroll because it's crashing. I don't know how like InDesign and Illustrator, which are incredibly complex, resource-intensive programs, don't crash for me that much. But like the one that opens up PDFs likes to crash a lot. I'm like, in theory, you're not doing quite as hard of work as the other ones. So anyway, so that's how that works in print.
Mm.
What am I doing here? Do you still? Am I still sharing?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you're still sharing it, yep.
So I'll just quickly show the rest of these.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I was kind of proud of how these turned out, even though they're off topic.
No, that's okay. I mean,
Half, half
this entire thing is about you, so anything you talk about is on topic, like
okay. Another kind of mysterious, unrelated. If you read the volume and you see
yeah.
these sperm things off in the edge here, and the tissue there. Yeah, so I thought there's like something in there that ties into something that's like, something that
Got it. Well,
people
I gotta read now to get the
yeah,
context. Like,
yeah, it goes some places that you wouldn't expect it to go.
mhm,
So this one I had like some space to fill, but I didn't have that many notes. So what I did was
mhm,
I made a starting page and an ending page.
mm,
So this one I just had this note here and things related to the notes floating around. And then I just had like a little ending page that has the four other main characters like
nice.
highlighted. So you can see the Moire pattern we were talking about. See these those big
Yeah, 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 when it's pulled up.
that's just
Yeah.
because I'm zooming in and out on something that has very fine dots.
Mm.
Um, let's see, volume 3.
I'm glad I know like what that pattern.
Yeah, nobody really wants to have that show up,
Yeah.
which is I think part of the reason, like, probably one more reason why manga artists probably don't like scanlation is because it's not a good presentation for their art.
Mm-mm.
So like their art ends up looking like crap when it's full of moire patterns and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, anyway, this one kind of fun. So sometimes unrelated, seemingly unrelated panels, but sometimes related.
But
But
they
then,
all like flow together in the way that you want it. So were these panels originally like not in this like shape and you would have to crop them to fit the
oh
panel?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like let me turn off some stuff here real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So like okay, let me turn off these main ones and let's see what's behind here because I got alternate ideas that were behind here that I was
Mhm.
gonna use, like these pillows flying around, and um,
This
I was just
video.
testing out different
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah,
These are all just all panels that I basically blew up large and like fit into there.
yeah. Mhm.
Some cases I have to draw in a tiny little bit just to make sure they like properly fit the shape without going too overboard on it.
No, of course.
Mm. This one's just
Oh,
pretty
I like
simple.
this one.
Little eye contact and then holding
And then,
hands. That was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the side of me I think. I mean, this is going to sound really self-indulgent to talk about, but the side of me that wishes I would have went into filmmaking, I guess I can kind of like act out little bits of
Mhm.
that. And,
You have done like music and whatnot too, right?
oh yeah, I used to. I've been too busy for a long time to make music, but I used to make a lot of like electronic music and stuff, and
Mhm.
do a lot of photography. I mean, this is manga is my second career arc basically because
Yeah.
originally trying to be a photographer, and then the recession kind of killed that. Became a hobby again. So I would say it's more fun actually as a hobby. Photography is. That's not the page I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Um, but I do really like photography. All right, I'm keep grabbing the wrong pages here because
Yep.
that's something out of an
They're
interview
not
that
loading.
back of the book. Um,
Oh.
wow, this volume had a lot of bonus stuff again. I'm used to just grabbing the very last page. Like that's translation notes. That's not it either. Very exciting, I'm sure. Okay,
Yeah.
there's the last regular page of the volume. Is this it? No, there was no translation notes in that volume.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Oh,
All
probably
right.
because there's a lot of extra bonus, I'm assuming.
Maybe sometimes, or sometimes the translator just doesn't find anything they think needs notes.
That
So
makes sense too.
here's the last volume. So yeah. Anyway, so that was just an example of like fun stuff with translation notes, and
Mhm.
I won't necessarily go through every volume, but I can show you like something I did on Galicium, for example, which it was pretty fun to do for
Yeah.
translation notes. That's where I took uh I just like took some of the color art originally. I had to make it black and white, but like I took some of the really deluxe looking color art and just like
Mhm.
blew it up really big
Oh
and have
wow.
like the translation notes kind of at play with the artwork there.
Ooh, I like it.
And then I have like a note on each page with like blood splattered behind it because it's very
Mhm.
bloody manga. And then the last page, sometimes I'll have to fill some space. So in this case, I put a giant eagle or a hawk or whatever that shows up
Nice.
in the manga. I don't know if you can tell from that manga, but Putin shows up throughout that manga.
Yeah, wait, what the heck?
Vladimir Putin is a main character in that manga, except he's a fake version. Also, like a character named Hillary Quantain, who is the leader. This is back before Trump was elected, so they thought Hillary would get it. So there's a character named Hillary Quantain, who's the president of the United States, and there's also the Prime Minister of Japan is patterned after Antonio Inoki, the wrestler. So, which is pretty cool.
That's
Um,
funny.
these kind of things are fun to put together. This is just where like I get to do pure graphic design stuff, and that's
Mhm.
like really fun for me sometimes.
What I noticed is, a lot of those, like, translator notes, like, they have, like, the panel as well with the note. Is that just something that, like, you know which to pick if the translator actually gives you that image or
Yeah,
what?
or I can infer it. If they
Yeah.
just give me a page, then I'll just kind of infer what they're talking about.
Mhm.
Um, and just depends on the book. Some books, like Land of Lustrous, I'll just do text.
Yeah.
Some books I'll do like the panels.
Mhm.
It's more fun to do the panels, but it does take more time.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to show you one last real quick thing. If we have,
Yeah, 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 go ahead.
this is something if anyone's seen my Twitter, which I know is not too many people, but if anyone's seen my Twitter, they've already seen this. But this might be interesting. Let me show you something. This is probably the most extreme example of me doing original things for a manga. In
Mhm.
fact, rather than go through all these 23 different volumes, let me just open up something else here. Let me open up the files for my actual art website here, which I could just go to the actual. Tell you what, why don't I just go to my actual website here?
No, do it.
Uh, so for let's see, I think I have it. I either have it in the comics section or the design section. Probably design. Oh yeah. So I make original pixel art for every volume of
Mhm.
Reincarnated as a Slime.
Okay.
So
Oh, wow.
that's all stuff that wasn't in the Japanese version.
Nice.
Let me open up one or two of those just so you can see them full size.
Mhm.
Volume 23. God, there's a lot of volumes. And there was like a note from the author recently saying we're about halfway through the original light novel story. I'm like,
Like, ah, great.
so here's like a big zoom in on
Oh, wow.
how these look. And I don't know if this shows up here, but there's a little bit of a haziness to the edges,
Mm.
uh, a little bit of inner glow coming in, and there's a little bit of like this pattern back here. And what I
Mm.
was trying to emulate was like a CRT monitor. And
Okay.
just for people who follow news, I'm not talking about critical race theory. I'm talking about cathode ray tube. Um, so like CRT monitors, like the old, just for the kids out there, that's the old tube TVs, which
4 by
is
3s, like
yes, what I used to play Final Fantasy 6 on back when I was in junior high and Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. So that's kind of the look I was trying to emulate a little bit for this and trying to
Mm.
emulate like that 16-bit RPG feel for these. And then in the actual pages there's
Mhm.
like text here and it's all done in like looks like video game text.
Yeah.
Let me go to previous volumes so I'm not
And it
showing.
looks like for Slime that these translating like, the translator notes is at the beginning of the volume, is that correct? Or
Oh no,
is it
it's at the end. It's
okay,
just
okay,
like I lay these out so that like the end of the book is at the top, just because
okay, got it, got it.
that's kind of I have to lay them out in order to like work with Japanese
Mm.
print. All right, so there's no translation notes, of course, in the volume, but I just opened up to show you. But here's some examples of like stuff I had to do with like bonus stuff. And thank you for not letting me scroll anymore, um, Adobe. It'll let me scroll again in a minute. There we go.
There we go.
This man, that cake took me like an hour just to get it right.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like it wasn't just drawing it on there, but I wanted to make sure it looked like it was raised up from
It's
the
like, even,
surface.
like, the S in the shonen is, like, hidden underneath the strawberry, like
Yeah,
yeah.
that yeah, I got a lot of stuff to keep track of on
Mhm.
this stuff. But this was super fun to do. Like I realize I'm spending a lot of time talking about translation notes here, other than actual lettering and stuff. But it's
No,
like
that's okay.
might as well open this. This is my Land of Lustrous page on my website, where you can see examples of some of my favorite lettering from it.
You numbskull.
Stuff, yeah, I get that. Just stuff that I thought was kind of like
Oh,
indicative of
I did have a
what I
question. If you
do.
go up to, like, where it's the yellow diamond one, oh, right there, like, the chapter 12, scroll down a little bit. Right there
Yeah,
on the right. So,
yep.
like, that box and everything and, like, the layer, is that stuff that's already there in the volume, and then you just have to, like, fill it in, or do you have to frame it that way? 'Cause I
I
know
bring
that's very consistent. Okay, okay.
yeah, the original has like vertical boxes, and obviously can't make it fit very well with English. So I just kind of
Yeah,
tried to mimic that feel, and I found a couple classy looking fonts to use for the series.
nice.
High Tower Text to that top one, and this lower one I'm blanking on the name, but I really like that font.
Mhm. Yeah, because
um,
it really, like, frames both the or I guess, is that the same thing with the ending of a chapter as well?
I do the same font for
Oh,
that,
okay.
same
That's
treatment.
awesome. Cause like, one of the things that I really like about Ichikawa's, like, transitions between, like, the volume or between the chapters itself is, like, they always go left and right. So, like, the end of one chapter and then the beginning of the other chapter is usually on the same page.
Yeah,
So, the fact that you also make sure that the framing is, like, perfect is amazing.
thank you. I want to try to be as accurate to it as I can.
Yeah.
Here's some before and afters you can see.
Mhm.
Like how I'm just showing on your feed. I'm showing things that people could go to the website if they want to.
It's okay. Yeah.
I can talk through it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so there's just examples of like this one was interesting because like you can see
Oh,
that
wow.
she drew these eyes in there. So I just
Yeah.
kind of tried to emulate that with my version. Try to just try to be as faithful as I can on
Mhm.
these. Um, things like this, like I couldn't possibly subtitle these because there's just not space. So I just
No.
replaced the entire background on that. And then things like this is like, you know, had a nice little space in the middle to put that Waaaah sound effect.
Mhm.
Um, I really wish these volumes would come out more than once every 10,000 years because
Yeah.
I really like working
There's a
on this
chance
series.
that we might have just one more. Who
That's
knows?
what I've heard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
to
This one's
end of
coming
the
to an end. Blood on
yeah.
the Tracks is coming to an end soon.
Mhm.
I only got one more volume left of that to work on after this, and all this fun stuff's coming. Well, just in the last year, like a bunch of stuff I worked on came to an end. So like,
Yeah.
kind of in the purgatory right now between series.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, just to totally go back real quick to what I was saying earlier. Is like do the sound effects, do the signage and all that stuff, do the gutter notes, do the sound translation notes, and then I basically run through everything, just make sure it looks good. Then I export the files the way they want them, like label them as those ISBN numbers. Anyway,
Yeah.
then I will send usually well I'll send just a PDF at first for them to look over, and then they'll
Mhm.
give me one or two rounds of edits that they want. I'll go through and do the edits. Once they're ready, I'll send them the whole InDesign archive, and then there's after that there's usually about 4 months or so between that and when it goes to print, and there's various other editorial stuff that happens on the way. So and then eventually it goes off to print. And in
Mhm.
the middle somewhere, the printer will send a test thing back to them so they can see like a test how's it look in print before it's the
Yeah.
final thing.
I'm assuming you get, like, a copy of the volume when it comes
I
out, or did you
usually
get it before? Yeah,
use
okay.
I used to get them regularly, just automatically, but they stopped that at some point. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I've been so busy this last couple of years. I have like 2 years worth of books I still have to request. So I just
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah, yeah.
I have to go do an inventory on what I do and don't have because I didn't think that was a big problem until I got to a point where I couldn't get Land of the Lustrous 11 because it was like there were no copies available because like this during COVID or whatever there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like printing, so I had to go buy a copy at Barnes and Noble.
Oh
So
my
like
goodness.
certain books I've done for publishers in the past, I've never gotten free stuff, free
Mhm.
copies of. I have to go buy them, and one of them I did, and it immediately went out of print, and like I
Oh
had
my
to pay
goodness.
like twice the price of the cover price to get it. Like this is back in 2012.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'd certainly like to get everything I work on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fun. It's really fun to look at it in print. That's like one of the most satisfying parts of it. Do we have any questions you didn't get to yet? I've been talking
I
here.
don't I
Sorry.
don't think so. I think we got through pretty much everything that I wanted. Um,
If there's anything else I wanted points I wanted to.
yeah, do you have anything else? If not, then, where can people find you?
Well, I'm kind of transitioning between platforms right now because I'm still
Okay.
technically on Twitter, even though I think it's an evil website.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm still there because people are still there.
Mhm.
I so on Twitter, I'm old school, so I'm coming from the age where you pick some totally random thing as your username.
Yeah.
So, Electro Freeze on
Mhm.
Twitter. Just all one word, and it's actually also the name of an ice cream a company that makes ice cream machines.
Oh,
And
okay.
they never bugged me to get their name. But I decided when I got a Blue Sky account, I decided,
Mm.
well, let's switch it up. So I went with Electron Volcano.
Okay. Okay.
Probably could have just went with Evan Hayden letter, something like that, but oh well. Um, Art site is evanhaydenart.com, EvanHaydenArt.com. I was going to get evanhayden.com, but I missed it by like 3 weeks. Someone got it
Oh
for
my
their
goodness.
newborn son, and I was like, all right, all right, other Evan Hayden, go. So that's like the three main things. I'm on Facebook. If anyone's still on that, you can just find me somehow. I haven't
Hmm.
updated in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Um, Instagram technically, although I haven't updated my Instagram in 3 years. Really, honestly, I don't update social media much these days because it's
Yeah.
been a totally busy year, and I'm also horrendously bad at self promotion, which is why probably most of the people you're talking to have heard of me because they're talking about myself. I'm not good at like being like, check out this crap, you know.
Well, hopefully,
So,
once this comes out, we'll get some more eyes on your work and just in general. Because I know that somebody made a Twitter thread on some of the work that you've done on Land Illustrious. I was looking at it a couple
yeah,
weeks
Sarah,
ago.
Sarah
Yeah,
Lindley.
yeah.
I think her name's pronounced Lindsley. I've never actually said it out loud before now.
Hmm.
Sarah, yeah, Sarah's great. Sarah's done a lot to support the lettering community and freelancers in general.
Hmm.
Um, I'm checking something real quick to see if something's public yet or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Hopefully,
I was gonna tell you what I'm working on right now, but I don't know if I can tell you yet about one.
oh, if it's been like,
It's not public yet. All
yeah,
right, so that one thing I had to like hide part of.
hide it. Yes. So it's good that you hit it because I
I'll
don't.
just tell you, it's a cool title. It's a
Uh,
science fiction post-apocalyptic title, and it'll be coming out from Kodansha in the future
okay.
on a chapter by chapter basis.
Nice.
And just all I can tell you is keep an eye out for a cool post-apocalyptic thing.
All right.
That's still pretty vague.
If it's chapter by chapter, will it be out on like K-Manga, like the digital like app platform that they have, or I
That
guess you
is
can't say.
that
So,
is something I really should know. I don't know. I actually don't. I really don't know. I don't know much of anything about K manga to be honest, because
mhm.
that's like I mostly do stuff for print, and then the
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
I
yeah.
that I do print is like often available digitally. I
Hmm.
vastly prefer doing work in print. Um, Frankly, if I just get a whole book to work on, and they tell
Hmm.
me you got a month to do this book, it works way better with my schedule because I'm balancing other books. I'm
Yeah.
balancing being a dad to a toddler. I'm
Hmm.
balancing. This last year, I was balancing cleaning out my parents' house and taking
Yeah.
care of my dad part of the year. So like things get kind of hairy. So it's kind of hard to do a weekly kind of
Yeah.
simulpub thing. And the one I'm talking around right now
Hmm.
is a little bit more laid back schedule version of
Okay.
that kind of idea.
That's good.
But so I'm working on that mystery project, which I'm sure might
Yes.
have already been announced, just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Also, we're doing this. We're doing it live. I'm gotta see if like this
Yeah.
updated.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it has. I think I saw something on Twitter about it. Okay, yeah, it's on the official Random House Penguin Random House site. I can talk about it.
All
So
right.
there's a manga called Sketchy that I just finished the first volume of,
Hmm.
and it is really cool. It has really good art. I think it would really appeal to Land of Lustrous fans because it just
Hmm.
has a little unique kind of art. Not as out there art wise as like Land of Lustrous is, as far as like avant garde type of art, but
Hmm.
it has a sort of almost indie comics vibe to the art a little bit. Mixed. It's like it's actually a manga about skateboarding, about a group of women who don't know each other but who meet each other through skateboarding,
Hmm.
and who are not they don't come from that scene. They just kind of like various weird random things in life kind of push them into this hobby that bring like one of them's a disaffected, jaded like office worker whose career is stuck.
Yeah.
Another is like another disaffected 30 something person whose career is also stuck, but this person works in a video rental store. Anyway, it's cool manga, and one thing I really like about it as a film nerd is there's a lot of references to a lot of obscure and fun movies, or sometimes not so obscure but just cult favorites. Like i can i think I think since the this is publicly announced. I think I could probably show this panel.
Yeah,
I
sure.
just gotta show you. I gotta show you a panel that this is like. This alone was made me decide. I was like, I gotta work on this book. Um, Let me quickly show you this. Gotta find it here yet. But
All
like
right.
this person gives can you see this? The two
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
gives a copy of John Carpenter's The Thing
yeah.
and Obayashi's House as a present to this girl who's like, I don't really know what to make of this. But for me, I mean, that's two of my favorite movies. So
Nice.
I was like, and there's also references to like all these obscure movies and stuff, and also like there's like kind of reminds me a little bit of Elephant by Gus Van Sant a little bit. Like I
Mhm.
like some of the somehow, even though I haven't seen that movie, so I'm totally talking out of my butt right here when I say that. So anyway, but it's cool manga. Still technically working on Land of Lustrous, even though it comes out
Yep.
once a year. Working on
Yep.
D. Virgelter, even though it comes out once every 4 years. Um,
Probably to give you like an idea of like the
I might be on
timeline.
AARP by the time I work on the next one at this rate.
Yeah, because
Sorry, what?
volume 13 probably won't, even if it comes out in Japanese, would probably be like sometime in 2024. So then it generally takes like about a year for it to be in English. So you might get it like end of 2024, beginning of
Yeah.
2025, realistically.
I imagine they'll probably put it out sooner than that. I mean,
Well,
the
hopefully,
last couple
yeah,
ones took longer to come out after the Japanese one, and I think a lot of that came down to just COVID related
yeah.
crap that was happening with like the with printing.
And
But I
Ichikawa actually,
understand things are getting a little bit more regular now. Hmm?
so Ichikawa actually took a break after chapter, what, at
Yeah,
the end of volume 11. So that's the main reason why there was a big gap
wasn't it
between.
the chapter that ended with
Yeah.
like having to wait for
Yes.
10,000 years?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
a
Yes.
good place to take a break.
She took like a
Yeah,
year and a half, and she's like, "Alright, I'm back."
I thought I heard a rumor that they might end on chapter
108.
108,
There's
and
yeah,
there's a tie to
we're
Buddhism with
getting
that.
close to it. Close to
I
it.
I don't know. I mean, that's well, that'd be interesting.
To give you
So yeah,
context.
I'm technically work on that. Technically work on Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle. Again,
Mhm.
that one comes out once a year.
Nice.
That is a blast to work on. I got some upcoming stuff from Last Gasp I'm working on, some of which I can't talk about yet. One of which
Mhm.
I can talk about. I showed you that logo before. It's called
Yeah.
um, I'm Enough, and it's a interpersonal relations how-to guide. Basically, it's really it's going to be. I really want people to read that because I think
Mhm.
it has that's going to cross over beyond just manga. I think. I gotta be. I know I'm Blood on the Tracks ending soon. Working on a book called Virgin Love for Vertical slash um, Kodansha. Oh my god, I'm missing something else here. I think I don't know. Anyway, I also did some stuff about it like throughout the last couple years for Saturday AM. I haven't done anything for them this year though, so I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know what's coming up next on that. But anyway, yeah, that's all
Nice.
that stuff. We'll see how things go in the future.
We shall.
I
We
know. I
shall.
mean, it's technically my 15th year of lettering, and not to be a bummer, but lettering is not a well-paying job. So,
Mm.
still making the same page rate I was 10 years ago.
Oh,
So,
wow.
we'll see. We'll see. I may have to eventually switch back to like it being a secondary source of income. Like
Mhm.
what somehow I've been I've been keeping a mortgage going with this,
Yeah.
and with being the single family earner in my little family of three,
Mhm.
uh, single only earner in my family of three. I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
which means that like things are pretty lean,
And I'm
basically.
sure your
So
expenses are gonna go up as your kid, like,
yeah,
wants to
he's
do
going to be
stuff.
4 in January. The only reason you can't hear him like running around and yelling and
Yeah.
stuff and laughing in the background is because he and my wife are visiting Japan for a few months right
Oh,
now.
nice, nice.
I figured like I'm like I gotta clean this house. It's
Mhm.
gonna be boring. Like
Yeah.
let's go spend a bunch of time with your family and
Mhm.
you know I'd be there right now with them, but since my dad's guardian, I can't just leave for 6 months,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm hoping to go back to visit the end of January and then fly
Nice,
back with them. Just depends on if
nice.
there's money.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
their tickets take priority, and then if there's any
Of
money, then
course.
I'll get my ticket too. So
I've never been to Japan. The plan is to
you
go.
gotta,
Okay?
you
We'll
gotta go.
see. We'll see if that becomes a reality.
Been 5 years since I was last there, and
Mhm.
when I came back here in 2019, it was supposed to. My wife and I were just like, we're gonna be back here for like 1 year, and then
Yeah.
help my parents out, and they go in
Yeah.
gardens. And everything's all set now with them, but now it's just like
Mhm.
if you're a guardian, you just got to stick around. So we'll just
Yeah, yeah. Be in the
go.
area.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, if I was back in Japan and if she was working as a nurse there again, and like, and we had national health care and
Yeah.
cheaper rent and stuff, like money goes farther.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No,
I
of
did
course.
more traveling when I was there. Like we went to South Korea for one of our anniversaries, and
Mhm.
went to Hong Kong when we were over there too. And I used to go
Flights,
to
like,
once
going from
a month.
Japan to there are pretty, like, they're extremely cheap, right?
Yeah, especially in country, they're pretty
Yeah,
cheap.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why I could go to Tokyo like every month, but like
Mhm.
not every month, but like almost every month for a while there.
Yeah.
One of my best friends lives there, and I'd go visit him, and then go to Heaven on Earth, aka Nakano Broadway. Have you heard of Nakano Broadway?
Mm-mm, I have
All
not.
right, I'm gonna do a little pro tip for people who
Yes.
go to Japan. Is like it's in the Nakano area of Tokyo. It's basically an entire mall full of stuff for nerds, basically.
Mhm.
And it's like a lot of malls in Japan, it's multi-level. It's like 4 or 5 floors.
Yeah.
And uh there's a lot of like anime and manga stuff. There's a Mandarake manga store there. Like Mandarake is a chain over there of that sells used and new manga, and you can get
Mhm.
some really obscure stuff there too. And they also sell like whole box set, like not box sets, but bundled sets. Like my friend living there, he bought like the entire run of Lone Wolf and Cub for like
Oh,
30
wow.
bucks basically.
Oh, wow.
um and that's where I bought the entire Barefoot Gen series when I was working on
Mhm.
that. But anyway, so like my favorite story in Nakano Broadway, and I can't show you this poster because I just realized it has a breast in it. So
Yeah. Let's
yeah,
be safe.
I can show you. Okay, I can. Damn, I guess both my Japanese posters have
That's
nudity.
okay. That's
I have several Japanese movie posters, mostly from like exploitation movies from the 60s and
Mhm.
70s, like kind of like B movies and stuff. Because there's like a store there. Stop me if I'm going too far off topic
No,
here.
no, no, you're good.
There's a store there that's only sells movie posters, like, and
Mm.
it's like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe movie posters. So if you want a Japanese version of like American movie, like go, you can both buy it there. If you want some really obscure like noir movie from like the 50s or 60s from Japan, you can get it there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just amazing. That is my favorite store probably on this planet. Even
Nice.
though I don't have enough wall space for all the posters I bought there. Um, that was like my one little luxury.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I can't really buy a lot. I don't have a ton of money, but I'm like, I'm gonna budget $200. I'm gonna buy as many posters I can buy with $200. And if they're like $40 each there, then okay,
Yeah.
fine
It
for
is
that.
what it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, like on the top floor, like the higher up you go,
Mhm.
the more obscure and expensive stuff they have. And at the
Mm.
very top level, there's a store that they had like this really rare Mazinger Z figure toy from like a few decades ago, and it was like $10,000. Um, they also have animation cell stores there, and I have a
Mhm.
collection of animation cells of my own. And I'm
I was seeing
tempted.
how much they go into, like, they're expensive, right? For the
Well,
cells? I don't know if they're expensive
I've
in
used
Japan.
a lot. It's worth it. I
Yeah.
don't apply it myself that's like worth anything, but like what I'm about to tell you, and please don't rob me. Please don't come to
Yeah.
my house and rob me. But one of those things I'll leave for my kid is my Akira cell that I have.
Ooh.
See if I can get at it. If you want to see it, I can show you
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
couple cells. All right. See, one advantage of being old is that I bought animation cells back in the '90s when these were like $100 each at
Yeah.
most. So like I got this $150 back then. This was $150
Wow.
animation set K from Akira,
Oh my goodness.
and they're going for like $3,000 each now, and
Mhm.
at that place in Japan. That which doesn't necessarily mean that they're worth that much, but that's
That's
what they're
just the going
costing.
price? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I look at that and I'm like, if I ever really run out of money, I know what I gotta sell. I'll sell
Yeah.
that before I sell my kidney.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, I used to collect a lot of cells. Like here's a new cutie honey cell, for
Nice.
example. I got Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. Couple. I gotta censor this one. Couple more
Oh,
Ghost
yeah.
in the Shell. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not Ghost in the Shell on top. That's Iria. But
Mhm.
anyway, so I'm going way off track here. Sorry.
No,
But
all good.
yeah, so Nakano Broadway is where you gotta go if you like anything related to Japanese pop culture or
Mhm.
frankly any kind of pop culture. It's just heavenly.
I definitely have to stop by there. Well, once
Yeah.
I, buy my ticket, then I know I'm going for sure. So when I
You
do
have
that, then
I've decided that if you go to Japan, you're not allowed to come back home until you've gone to Nakano Broadway at least
okay,
once.
then I'll
I've
be there.
I've contacted the American government already.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
let you know what I pick up then.
Yeah. Also, one other cool thing is there's a neighborhood called Jimbocho, which
Mhm.
focuses on like bookstores. Lots and lots of
Mm,
bookstores there. So there's lots of cool stuff there. Like
nice.
mostly like prose books, but I
Yeah.
mean they have like all kinds of stuff, art books, manga, other stuff. So those are my two little slightly off the beaten path
All right.
tips there. But I
I've
mean that's not
definitely
where I lived. I lived in Nagasaki for 6 years, which I could spend an entire other podcast getting into how nice that city is
yeah.
and beautiful it is. So very interesting city, very different from the rest of Japan as far as how it looks and stuff. So that's where my wife and kid are and all my
Mhm.
in-laws and stuff. So trying to think of anything else I can say about manga. I'm sure there's a million things I'll think of as soon as we get off the
No worries.
can't remember right. Any
All
other
right then.
questions for you?
Nothing else from me. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much for spending the time talking about the series with me, Evan, and I'm glad we got to get more of an insight of just what goes behind localizing like the
Yeah.
series in general, which
I,
I don't
I
think gets
really love
talked about enough. Yeah.
I really love working on Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah.
I mean, even in I have the occasional year where lettering's not as fun as it normally is.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes it's not so. Depends on what's going on. But Land of the Lustrous is always like that shining star in the sky. Like whenever I get to work on it, so I'm like, oh, finally I get to work on this again. So I don't know.
Well, here's to volume 13 whenever you get your hands on it, you know?
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers to that. So drinking my mango Pepsi. So.
Nice.